Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam, my brother. How are you?
I'm doing good, man.
You have a good week all the way through.
Um, yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff, man.
Politics or business?
All of the above,
Okay.
especially in business, especially. I'm trying to get some returns done, and it's been a challenge.
Is it the information they're providing you or not providing you that's causing an issue?
Oh man, I got a Yemeni brother and a few of them, but this brother, he wants me to finish his return, right? So I do a sales tax every month. So when I looked at the bank statement for the year, one business is his sales tax was about, if I add up all the sales, no, his sales was about 400 and something $1,000. The deposit in his account was $606,000.
Run that by me again.
The sales in the business annual sales was 454, let's say $54,000, something like that.
Okay.
The deposits in his account was 600 and something thousand dollars, 666,000, I think.
Is he laundering money for somebody?
No, he just lying.
Okay. I
In
mean,
other words, if he reports the right sales, I do the sales from the sales tax.
okay.
So he's lying about the state tax. He's lying about the sales, ergo, he's not paying in all the the sales tax.
So that has to be cash then, right? Because he's
No,
not running it through the register. I mean,
no. The problem is a lot of the deposits are from credit card transactions,
okay.
right?
But that goes through the machine. It's hard to lie about that because that goes through the
Exactly. And he trying.
okay. But cash doesn't necessarily have to
They
go.
don't get that much cash, brother.
Okay. Okay. He didn't get
Today,
150 to $200,000 worth of
no,
cash.
today is a credit card environment. It is not a
Okay.
cash environment. You
Yeah,
know,
how
everybody got
how
debit.
how do how do you hide that though? If
I didn't
people are
hide him. I'm trying to.
swiping, how do you hide it?
Well, he's not hiding it because nobody's looking at it.
Okay.
They don't when they report their sales tax to me, I take the number that the sales they get. Or they'll give me the register runs daily, right?
Hmm.
So when I start looking at, and I had my workers compiling that. When I looked at it, and I said, he's not running the whole day.
Ah, okay.
So so some of the runs are, so I told him, I said, brother, I said, I don't even want to sign your return, man. Because if they look, you gone, you toast, you know. So I'm trying to decide this is gonna be my last year working with this brother. 'Cause I ain't going to jail for him. I mean, not that I would go to jail, but I'm the accountant, right? So
Right.
if I prepare the return,
Listen, you remember Arthur Anderson, right?
who,
Big
who,
the big five
who,
accounting firm,
who,
Arthur
who,
Anderson.
who?
Yeah, exactly.
Now it wasn't just Arthur Anderson, man.
Oh, I know.
How about the Lord Haskins and Sales? Remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
There used to be the Big Eight, right?
Right.
Now it's the Big Three.
Exactly.
And I'll be on the other side, I'll be the little one. So that's one thing that I'm dealing with, man. And then that trying to keep good help in.
Yeah, I can imagine that's so. Okay, so here's you saw the jobs report that came out, right?
Yeah.
And it was a negative number,
Yep.
which depending on how you read the numbers, it really was negative or it really wasn't negative. Depends on who was counted, who wasn't counted. So 3 months from now, they'll come up with what the real numbers were for July because they did that with what April, May. It was April, May, and June. They also revamped those numbers. So it's always the truth always trails the number that they give. But I don't understand people who get a job that they apply for in this environment, walking away from jobs when everybody is around us telling us that jobs are going away because of AI, especially jobs like what you would employ people to do. Those are some of the easiest jobs for AI to do. So if you get one of those jobs, I don't see why people just don't hang on to them for dear life.
You're right. You're right. But you can't blame it on AI because it's the attitude that's changing concurrently with AI. I mean, people come to work with the phone. AI, you see, AI is doing that there. But AI saying, let's distract, find out what type of job this person does. Let's distract them, get them fired, and then we'll move in. You follow?
Mhm.
Because people are, I mean, had a young lady, one of my clients hired her, and they sent her by the office to fill out the paperwork. And I looked at it, I said, oh boy, another one of them. I'm trying to talk with her. She's all in her phone. I said, oh, heck. So it's rough, man.
So you don't
But
you don't have a wicker basket for people to drop their phone into when they come to work. Pick it up when they
no,
go to
no.
lunch. Pick it up when they leave. Because a lot of
Indeed.
companies are starting that practice.
They're starting that now, right now. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
because there's some kind of a crazy number out there of how many times people are getting these notifications on their phone, and they may not really stop to read through the notification, but it's 5 to 7 seconds. When the notification goes off, then they got to look, and then they've got to bring their mind back to the task that they were working on and get restarted again.
Hmm.
And it's something like anywhere from 400 to 1,000 notifications a day, depending on the person we're talking about. You can lose 2 hours of work
Easily,
easily.
easily. I I know. I'm looking at my phone, and now I got clients, the business clients, texting me. I don't even look at my phone, and it's something that's sensitive, time sensitive, and they text me. I say, man, I can't be in the office with a client and I'm looking at my text.
Exactly. No,
Come
no
on.
way.
No way. I ain't even gonna, I don't even engage that. So I tell them, do not text me if it's something that's immediate, because it might take me a half a day to even know I got a text.
Right.
And I purposely don't respond to them so they'll get the message.
Yeah. All on my cell phone now, all notifications are off. I
Oh,
don't,
okay.
yeah, I turned all notifications off.
Well,
I get
mine don't make yeah, mine don't make noise. I in terms of if I get a text in, I never know because like I said,
right. So
notifications.
you've done the same thing I did. You turned
Yeah,
off the whatever that sound is,
yeah.
type of thing. You know,
And I turn my ringer down
right. Exactly.
because half the doggone calls are spam. It's crazy, but that's the environment we're in, man.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that's the other thing, and this is again is kind of employment related, it's education related, and it's kind of where we are as a country and somewhat misguided leadership that we have in the country. So since I want to say February of 2025, 98.3% of all new jobs created in this country are either in healthcare or hospitality. And
Mhm.
really, 85% of those are in healthcare. And we have a leadership in this country that is basically trying to tilt the whole monetary system, the tax system, write-offs, and all that toward an industrial base of manufacturing, hard manufacturing,
Mhm.
and education. Yeah, it is incredibly hard right now because I have a niece who's trying to do this to get the funding that you need, and scholarships and whatever, to become a registered nurse. 3 years ago, it was a slam dunk. If you wanted to be a registered nurse, all the money in the world was there for you.
Mhm.
Because in the area where I grew up in Texas, those small towns, they're doctor poor and nurse poor.
Mhm.
And we have an aging population. I mean, people our age, 65 and older, we plan hospital trips, doctor visits more than we plan vacations.
Mhm.
So this is where the need is. And we have an administration that's trying to basically force people back. What are we looking at now? 70 years into the past, to the 1950s. And, I mean, it all feeds on itself as far as economics and short term and long term. Because you're gonna have a populace of people, especially men, who are very ill prepared for the reality of what the future's going to be. They won't be able to do the jobs.
That's why people trying to understand why. Why are you messing with the Haitians and other
Right.
groups?
Exactly.
These are the people that's working in the hospital.
That's exactly true. And
What is
changing
the
sheet and
problem?
changing sheets in the hotel,
Exactly.
right? Delivering, your meals to your room, cleaning the toilets. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's so myopic. The vision, number one, the vision. I don't know if they have a vision, but just their view of what the reality is on the ground right now. I I'm wondering if there are any intelligent people sitting at the table with this guy.
Not intelligent. Are there any moral people that have a morality?
Yeah, maybe
You
not.
got, they got to see it,
They have to.
but they just don't care. All right, man. Well,
Assalamu alaikum.
Well,
they
like
can
Islam.
Uh, what's going on does not make any sense unless it could be seen in the framework of an intentional disruption of the system,
Mm-hmm.
of the society. Um, I've mentioned before, back in the early leadership of Imam Muhammad, in a public address, he mentioned uh, the mindset of Satan uh, disrupting things to take his base out of America, because the base is here because of technology and so forth, to take his base out of America. And he talked about the method as being civil unrest, uh, black and white having conflicts with one another that would bring about martial law to bring back the order. And then the intent was to change the legal foundation, to come out of a constitutional frame government. And I remember specifically, he talked about at that time, Senator Edward Kennedy was uh, was alive, and the imam said, "Well, people like Senator Kennedy, they'll be all right." Uh, but and it was a very succinct kind of uh, perception or focus. But if we look at these things that don't make sense, step back a little further to see, well, this is crazy. Unless you're just trying to bring the thing down, bring bring the social order down. It's crazy. Unless you haven't, unless there's uh, and this was described as the people who are over the elector, the president and the other government officials that actually make decisions in terms of how certain government leaders are supported, with uh, what do you call it, financial support and so forth, and they bring in leaders that they want. They take out leaders that they want by funding others to take their place. So, is this still going on? That was back in the 70s. Uh, is there still a mindset that wants to just change the form of government? That the American democracy is too
I'm,
expensive,
I'm,
too expensive, or what?
I'm sure they hadn't stopped. If they were operating, they hadn't stopped, brother. So I mean, all these things are happening, and we have to go back to people like Imam Muhammad and others who were aware of that back in the day, and bring forward what they said and look at it from that perspective. But it's nothing. It hadn't stopped. They had a better hope that the people would be not as awake, and there's a lot out there distract the average person,
Yes, sir.
and that's what they like. They keep them distracted.
Yeah, but at that same time, those who benefited most from capitalism were taking their resources out of the country, offshore and so forth, And I don't, I don't know if that's still a trend or not. But at that time when we were in economic trouble, these people who, like I said, had benefited most were taking their resources away. They had no concern about helping to stabilize things.
So there's two ways of looking at that, Brother Michael. Number one, and I hear this all the time, like when Mayor Mamdani was elected in New York, there's this great fear that all these billionaires are suddenly going to leave New York and take all of their wealth with them. And I thought about that for about 30 seconds and I laughed. How many skyscrapers would leave New York if a billionaire moved out of the penthouse? So there's different types of wealth. There's wealth that you can carry in your pocket. You can have gold coins, you can have a black card, you can have the debit card to your bank account that has millions or billions in it. That's a particular kind of wealth. And in World War II, in parts of Europe, you could have all of that and not be able to buy a loaf of bread with it. But what endured was what created that paper wealth. The buildings, the real estate that you own, the productive vineyards that you have, the factories that were generated, those things are harder to move. Those are real assets that create real wealth over long periods of time. And they don't just get up and walk away. That's the reason that Apple doesn't move their factory and manufacturing settings out of China. They've moved 15% of it to India, but to move 100% of it anywhere would cost them twice what it costs to create those situations in the first place and severely disrupt their ability to make money for maybe a decade. So through all of the tariffs and threats and all this stuff, those factories are still there. And that's a huge scale. That's a company that competes on a worldwide basis that is today the most valuable corporation in the world. So these little billionaires and their little money that they take offshore or that they will put into the Korean market for a while or put into the Hong Kong market for a while or here and there chasing currency and money, which is legal to do. Don't blame them. That's not the real wealth, but that's what the news media wants to scare you with. That's not the real wealth. The real wealth is much harder to move. You know, what we, I think, as citizens have to think about is how that wealth, whichever form we're talking about, how do we bend that wealth to actually support, sustain, and enhance life in this country and in other countries? We as Muslims, we have a system. There's a zakat system supported tangentially by Sadaqah for that type thing. We don't talk about that enough in the public space of what that would look like if a skyscraper that's worth $140 million is sitting there and you're putting a 2.5% tax every year on that property, less any mortgages against it. And I know people say it's very difficult to do. How are you going to do all this accounting? Man, technology takes care of all of that. So if we ever start looking at wealth itself, the underlying wealth, the assets, and assessing a tax on that instead of chasing these individuals who are hiding money, like Adam's client that he's working with, but look at taxing actual assets, then a lot of, unless you totally destroy our system, as you were saying, totally destroy the democratic system that we have in this country and all the underpinnings of it, then we're going to start moving closer to alleviating some of these outs for people and their ability to threaten the rest of us, the other 99% or whatever, 98% of us with, well, if you don't do my bidding, I'm just going to leave and leave you destitute. And I just want to say to a bunch of them, bye, holler at you. You'll be back in 2 years. Because that's what happens. But until it's systems, until we put in place systems that alleviate individuals, small groups' ability to manipulate to their advantage so that they have undue weight on the rest of us, we're going to go through these cycles. You know, like Adam was saying, man, they're still manipulating the tax system and the system of, you know, how you get a building approved or this project approved or that project approved. They do it on the fly and they do it openly. They change the rules in the middle of the game. But that's most of us, and not everybody, not any one person keep up with all this stuff, but you know, we should have areas of expertise where we have people that are on top of certain things. You know, here in my area, every other week they're trying to do something to keep a masjid from being built or an Islamic community from being created. Right? But over the last 30 years, the Islamic community here has gotten a lot smarter. Now they understand all the rules of the game and all the processes and procedures you have to go through. And they have the patience to sit there and wait it out and to actually use the law to their advantage. And we get projects built. We've been getting projects approved. And that simply has to be a mindset that leaks down into every community, and especially us as African Americans. We just have to get a better grasp on the games that are being played and the rules of those games and filter it through what we believe. Then respond accordingly and really plan ahead accordingly. This thing of responding when somebody throws a punch at you,
Yeah,
that's tired,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
We need to be on the front foot.
Well, you know,
We need to be planning and understanding the processes that we're going to have to go through and planning ahead for those things, even before we're ready to make the move.
I had a Jewish associate. He was middle school teacher. Um, he was involved in some of the social activity around schools getting the proper attention and having a proper educational foundation, you know, instead of the attention being given to vendors and teachers' salaries and so forth. You know, really focusing on giving the classroom teachers what they needed and having the right kind of uh, curriculum. And he told me it may have been near the last time that we were together, and we were walking through this alternative school that he was supporting, and uh, couple of things came up in the conversation as he was showing me around. And the one that I'm really focusing on now is the fact that he said, there are people that plan ahead 50 years, 100 years, you know, and that stuck with me. I didn't say anything about it. I didn't respond to it. I'm just listening. But you're right, Brother Elwood. We have to stop being these counter punching kind of what do they call it? Reacting instead of responding, type of mindset. Because uh, there are folks that plan the life of society way ahead. 50 years, that's a couple of generations. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement with the couple of generations thing. I think that's probably far enough ahead. If you're planning 40, 50 years ahead, I think you're in pretty good shape. And I say that, people always, when I was growing up, teachers and stuff like that, especially when I was in college, they refer to the Chinese and their thousand year plan that like Mao and all these people had, right? There was a big talking point back in the late 70s, as especially, after Nixon had gone to China, opened China to the West again, started trade, all that stuff with them. So there's a lot of Chinese talk. They always talk about their thousand. But I think that the society changes much faster now than it did 50 years ago. So if we're able to really and truly look ahead and plan out 40 or 50 years, I think, number one, for any group, that that would be a fantastic thing to put something like that in place. For African Americans, who, for most of our existence as liberated people, somewhat liberated people in this country, we spent most of that time hopping from foot to foot to keep from getting overheated under one foot. You know, frying pan to the fire with a little bit of relief coming here and there. For us to do something would be a monumental shift for us. I think it would be beneficial. I think it would be very difficult to do for us as a group, because we don't trust our leadership right now. And I'm not talking about just us that are on this call. I'm talking about African Americans in general in the United States of America. We don't trust our leadership.
Well, one thing, I'm listening to your conversation. What is the hadith of the prophet? Where he says, I think it's a hadith. Live each day as though you don't live forever, but live as though it's the last day in your life. You familiar with that?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Yes, sir.
100%,
All
100%
right.
agree with it.
So just from that, I can see planning for the future, but I can also see planning for right now.
Absolutely.
Right.
So we're talking about we don't plan for the future, but guess what? We don't plan for right now.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So
So we
Adam,
need both things happen concurrently. You can't say one over another. We
no,
need help on both of them.
right. So let me ask you a question, because this is conceptual question. So there's no right or wrong, and I hope I'm not in too deep a water. So I have this conversation with my boys all the time, just about this particular subject. So now is right now. There is no plan or right now, this minute. There are your actions right now, this minute. Do we have the proper framework in place? Have we taught and are we teaching each other how to properly respond in the moment? Do we have the proper grounding to respond in the moment? And I'm going to say, in most cases that I see, the answer is no.
True, true.
And
Because
I'm 100% agree with you. We got to solve that problem
I mean,
right away.
we got to solve both of them.
Yeah,
We got to work on both of them. And see, the problem is, especially with African Americans, there is no leadership that's in unity. So you got African Americans like the Muslim brother that was endorsed by Trump, the African American Muslim brother endorsed by Trump,
right.
and he thought he had it going on, but he didn't realize the MAGA base. On one hand, they're slamming Muslim candidates who are Democrat, and he thought that made a difference for him. And he the one to say he doesn't follow Islam now, or something like that.
Right. Yeah. He's an ex-Muslim, what he described
Ex-Muslim,
himself.
but he didn't change his name back.
No.
So I mean, we have that thing, we have that happening where you don't know, just like I'm in Cumberland County right now, Fayetteville, and we have an African American mayor. He's been mayor for about 3 or 4 terms, and they came after him this time when he won. So now he, along with uh, some Caucasians, are pushing data centers to be built right here in Cumberland County.
I guess.
And he's wondering why there's a lot of young people, especially, and a couple of old heads like me, that disagree with him, right? I don't care how they try to spend it. A data center cannot be seen as economic development in the African American community because they don't bring enough jobs to do that
Exactly.
at all. They have more jobs when it's built than when it operates.
Right. Yeah.
You can operate a data center with less than 5 people, right? And then all the other environmental issues that come along with it. But
Should have
they
said
don't understand.
economic before environment because those power costs and the water costs
Oh yeah.
did cripple
Well,
a community or can.
yeah, because they're giving them a break. The money got to come from somewhere.
Exactly.
I'm preparing for this week and I'm in the African American caucus, and I can't, according to them, I can't say anything against an African American mayor.
Yeah,
That,
you can.
that's why I'm getting ready. That's why I'm getting ready to step down.
Oh man, look, there are no sacred cows.
None.
If you're wrong, you're wrong. It's just the way it is. Quran says if you're wrong, you're wrong. Everybody's got an answer.
Everybody. But with us, we act like we can't say nothing about
We
leadership.
sense it. We sensitive.
You
We
see
very
what
sensitive. We very sensitive.
they're telling the progressives that won the election that either they come and join the Black Caucus. What did I say? Either join the Black Caucus or support Hakeem Jeffries, who get most of his money from the genocide people,
Exactly.
or you can't be a member. And I said, what's that all about?
I just feel like
Failure in leadership.
total failure of leadership, weak need. I mean, look, let's sit down at the table. Let's talk about everything.
Everything.
That's the only way we're going to come up. Everything's got to be on the table. Every possible process, procedure, goal, possible future. It's all got to be on the table. And then what, I love both my grandfathers to death. And they probably do okay today. If they were alive today, they'd probably be doing okay. But if they're alive today, I'd ask them a whole bunch of questions about why this and why that. As much as I love and respect them, I would still ask them a whole bunch of questions. And in the end, I would probably agree with them because they were both highly moral people, caring people. But that doesn't mean that they're beyond question. And I'm happy from a political standpoint. This has nothing to do with anything but politics. I am really happy that some of these progressive candidates are winning elections. And I don't have to agree with everything they do 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never known anybody that I agreed with 100%. So they fit right in with mom and dad. But we had our differences. They always won, but we had our differences. But if it causes people to have to start really reflecting on their path and direction, and especially the young brother that won in Michigan when they spent
Mm-hmm.
$60 million to defeat him, and he still won.
When I was in
Man,
when I was in Birmingham, there's a political operative. He owned the Birmingham Times newspaper, Jesse Lewis, and he talked about uh, political political races, and he said you have to have a very strong organization. No, you have to have money and strong organization. And if you don't have money, you better have a very strong organization.
Right.
Because you can't win without it. Without it, and we're finding individuals, these progressives, that the the particular what do you call it? The particular points that they're addressing are resonating with a large number of the public, and they have to be organized well enough to overcome the deficit of the big money, because that's what's been taking us out. We'll put a guy in office or a girl in office, a woman in office, and like Jeffries, the big money lobbyists will come and win them over to their. And we haven't talked about strategies to deal with the constructs of our political reality. Maybe we're starting to do it more, or coming to it more now, out of necessity. But there's so much social conditioning in terms of how we operate as individuals and groups, and so man, Birmingham was a real education for me. We had black black mayor, majority city council, but there was not an independent mind to help to help the citizenry, particularly the African American citizenry. And so I worked with a friend. He called them Negro managers. They were managing the resources for white people. And the mayor, Richard Arrington, he got very sick. He had a 5-way heart bypass. So
Mm.
he made a decision to step down. He could have kept running. And so in his leaving, he was telling us that our people were worse off as he was leaving than they were when he came in. And show you some of the kind of moves that he was making. We we had a water system that was considered at that time, according to the language, in the top five water systems in terms of purity. That's the way it was stated. He went to the various uh, neighborhood associations, bad mouthing the system, saying it was like an old truck, an old car sitting up in the front yard. Because it was obvious that he had made an agreement with those that wanted to privatize the system, that he was on their side. And I worked with the group that was against that, put a particular, another political operative in office. He made a statement that that he was going to use some of the resources from the water system, which served populations outside of the city in the Jefferson County area. And his statement that he was going to use some of the monies from the water system to help build up the Birmingham. The state attorney general got involved on behalf of the citizens, mainly uh, larger Caucasian uh, communities. The state attorney general got involved to block the mayor of Birmingham from doing that. And it was a big thing, and there's a lot of repercussions. And now the system I'm seeing the system is breaking down to a point where they may be moving it towards privatization because of the moves that have been made to undermine the good operation of the system. It's like, somebody's punching a hole in the boat, so to speak. And maybe up the road, because we're talking over 20 years now. Uh, Maybe somebody up the road is going to, they'll put it up for privatization up the road. But these people are not short time players. They're looking at moves, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years up the road. And so I'm watching how this is all playing out. But we don't have like Allah says in the Quran, most of the people don't know. And a part of that not knowing is a social conditioning to think a certain way, to feel a certain way about issues. Uh, we're still dealing with dysfunctionality going all the way back to the system that produced the dysfunctionality, going all the way back to chattel slavery and the kind of constructs that have been established since that time to produce a caste system, so to speak. And I'll stop with that. It's got a lot of moving parts.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Cheryl. Thank you for joining us this morning. Good to always note your presence. But
Absolutely.
Michael, alaikum salam, sister. Michael, to what you were saying, and I know you make a constant point of talking about the effects of chattel slavery. And I'm probably as tiresome on the other side of wanting to kick that particular pair of crutches out from under us as a people. That, and I know it's because it's in history books, it's talked about, there's no way to totally get rid of it. But I think that we disavow the educational, intellectual base.
I don't think
That,
so.
hold on, let me finish. I think we disavow the intellectual base that we as a race have built in these United States. I think we disavow as a race the economic improvements and economic base that we've had, as disjointed and disorganized as it is. Part of that is the remainder of which I would call the patriarchal system that is a part of our race. And
Patriarchal or matriarchal?
patriarchal, no
Part of
matter,
part of
no
our
matter,
race?
part of our race.
Okay.
And I only say that because you could spread that across all races. I say that because when I look at my particular race, is I look at us as having the potential to be leaders. And one significant leadership move or shift that I would think would accelerate our advancement would be for us to tear down patriarchal system and in its place put the family system. And I don't want to go into the deep woods of talking about what all that means, but I will simply say this is that there is more intellect that can be applied to the issues that face us. There is more sound finances that can be applied to the issues that face us. And what I hear coming out of people's mouths is there is more vision for a better future coming out of a particular segment of our race, and that's women. That takes nothing away from an Islamic perspective, a man's role, or at least is seeking to attain that role by merit. But today, as we sit here right now, having to make decisions right now about what's going on right now, African American women have more education. African American women have better finances in place, and they have a better vision of a possible future. That's my small world and what I see and what I hear. And there are some stats that back me up. But we hang on to something, we hang on to a lot of things that shouldn't have as strong a hold on us as they do. And some of these things I think we have to slowly start letting go of in dealing with the reality in place. And that's just my take on it. And I throw myself into that pot of someone who around me, even within my family, of women of exceptional ability and exceptional achievement who should have leadership positions. Some do, some don't. And the role of us men who maybe haven't attained those heights in those particular areas should be support and protection. Until we're able to reach the heights that we should be at. In which case, most African American women that I know would gladly hand the reins to us and say, brother, please take over. And I'll stop at that.
Well, the reason I'm aware of your sensitivities because, you know, the circumstances that we've gone through as a people, Allah does not permit a whole people to be uh, in within that oppressive circumstance to be disrupted and made dysfunctional by the oppression. And what I'm looking at, people like Dr. What's his name? The miseducation of the Negro. Yes, we've got more education, but the factors, I took a Alabama history course, and I may have mentioned this before, and I learned that before the Walk of Tears, the Indian populations, by law, no tribe could own land in Alabama, Georgia, and the other states that these Indian tribes were within. Before they decided to move the Indian population out of those states on the Trail of Tears, these laws were put into place. Individual Indians could own land, but no tribe could own land. And it's a system of individualizing, uh, particularly the African American community with that type of education. Uh, traditional uh, way of advancing in the world is advancing by way of the group, not the individual. Um, the Asians, they're aware of it. The Latinos, they have mi familia, uh, uh, a social construct and ideology about the group. We we don't have that in a healthy way. So there are a lot of there are a lot of parts to this thing, but you talked about what is it patriarchy. I hear a lot that the African American community is under matriarchy, and I'm seeing on the media conversations in terms of gender wars that are disrupting, our ability to function in a healthy way. And a lot of these things are being promoted into our community life and effective. Imam Muhammad said that the women of our community were more ready for what he was advancing than the men. And there was a short mention in terms of one of the factors. The men were more ready for men were more regimental. Up 2, 3, 4. That kind of psychology, and also the type of environment that we're dealing with to find our healthy place in as a group. Uh, it doesn't require. It requires less physical muscle than it does mental muscle. And if it was, I've said often, if it was a matter of fighting a physical force, our men are more ready for that than we are in dealing with these psychological issues that's attributing that to the kind of social conditioning that all of the citizens experience. But because of, as a people, we have started from zero or less than zero because of the chattel slavery. You can't exclude that as a factor and what followed after slavery in terms of the terroristic tactics. In slavery, we were denied education. Uh, and we saw a great advance in terms of the group attaining education because of that latent dynamic of wanting to know and understanding that education is what we need to have in order to see properly and advance properly. But Dr. What's his name? Miseducation of the Negro individual.
Carter G. Woodson.
Carter G. Woodson, Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Yeah, yeah. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, and I think I mentioned it just a few weeks ago. State Representative Mary Moore. I met her when she was a nurse at the VA hospital, and she was a union person. She was trying to unionize the nurses, and she wasn't having much success at all. She had a brief conversation with a coworker, Caucasian coworker, supervisor, nurse supervisor. And the nurse supervisor told her plainly, "Well, Mary, you know what schools they went to." And that's all she had to say. Look, we've trained them not to respond to, what you're offering them. We're in their heads. And that's an issue that spreads out in terms of the questions that have been asked for years. Well, why can't we work together? Why can't? Well, first you have to, like the Nation of Islam and some of the other groups, the minority report was, okay, we're going to have to do something. We're not satisfied with the way we're seen, with the way that we're being treated. We're going to have to do something about that ourselves. And so you've got a small group, and inshallah, it's growing among our young people, young men, and particularly women. Um, but you have to be able to acknowledge that something has happened to make us different as a group. And when once we acknowledge that there has been effect, uh, not the few have not been affected, but the many have, and that's the core reason why we see the kind of behavior in our group that we see, because it has not been a natural development here in America. We've developed under very oppressive circumstances. There's less of that now. We have more opportunities now. But there've been a lot of analogies in reference to that, like the elephant that has the chain on its leg, and it only allows the elephant to go so far. But the elephant has the strength to break that chain, but it's a psychological connection there that won't allow it to move. And there are many other kinds of picture languages that speak to our circumstances
Yes,
of
sir.
social conditioning. And I'll stop there.
Yeah, yeah, Sister Cheryl's hand up. Sister Cheryl, you want to say something? Maybe she stepped away.
No, I'm here. I,
Okay.
I I thought you were still talking.
No, no, no. Go, you're on. Yeah.
Thanks. Ah, thank you. Um, a couple of things. Uh, this concept of 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 patriotism. I want to note for the record that, in front of all of you men, thank you very much. Being the only woman on this call, I want to say this, that I had this conversation earlier this week I usually teach on Tuesdays in this facilitate anyway, this women's group, women's circle and this class with women. And this past Tuesday was a joint meeting, public forum with women and men. And this came up. And one of the things that I try to bring to people's attention is true to Brother Michael, what you said about men, and to Brother Edwards' comments. Yes, Black women are data-wise the most educated in the entire country. They hold some of them the highest number of degrees, granted degrees. But in the patriarchal society, that carries very little because we still continue to be the least paid. And just 2 weeks ago marked the date by which is called Equal Pay Day. And the one for Latino women is coming up in a couple of days, actually in September, which is the date by which you will have to work from January until mid-August or mid-September, to which you will reach so-called equity in pay to the average man, white man, and even Black men. No matter how many degrees you have, you're still not earning the same cents on the dollar. Black women earn 58 cents on the dollar to me, with so-called all things equal. But what's interesting to me is to see that many men, including Black men, like the idea of strong women. You will say it out of your mouths. You like the idea of educated women. But how many really, really are able to sufficiently handle, and I say handle in quotes, not tolerate, I mean truly appreciate what that means in all of its nuances. And on the reverse of that is women being able to embrace what that means to be in this kind of society and not embrace. I don't claim to be a feminist. I don't like that term, but I do like Alice Walker's definition of not being a feminist. People mistake who she is because of her work, but she is the one who coined the word womanism, which is a different type of way of looking at who we are and what we do. While feminism seeks to have gender equality broadly, And Alice Walker said that our womanism it looks to center who we are as Black women or brown women, and it addresses both sexism and racism. Feminism has done nothing for Black women, and it's mostly a lot of white women, and it decenters the family, and it really pushes out the male. Whereas womanism centers the family, even though it does say that the woman is the center of, as all of our books of faith say, the womb is where we come from, through God's blessings. But it does say that the focus on the experiences of Black women and women of color it emphasizes that there's an intersectionality between race and gender and class, but that we do not devalue where our families fit into that mold, including the men in our community. But we value community and spirituality and how that all intersects together. But we do not allow that patriarchal concept or construct to take away that value. But there's an interconnectedness between how those flow together. And I think that knowing that and understanding that, and how our society has somehow flipped around. When I talk to my daughter and the girls that I mentor, they struggle, and a lot of the Muslim girls that I talk to now, they struggle because the men now think that they're the prize. You guys might not know this, but they think that they're the prize. That the women should treat them as if they are the prize. And that is an eye-opening thing, rather than that the women should chase them and the women should owe them something. Whereas that is not the way. And that is where we have gone wrong. The other thing I wanted to say really quickly, on the other side, you guys were talking about on the political side. I will say this. I'm going to say it in the form of this. I know you've probably heard this story before. There was an important job that needed to be done, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry that because it was everybody's job, everybody thought that anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody couldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. And that's the way we operate. We act like it's just going to get done because somebody said that it was important. But somebody, everybody, anybody, nobody. And that's what it looks like in our community. Whether it's Muslim, Black community, whatever, is that no one wants to step up and do what needs to be done. As somebody who, I'm on the ballot, I just found out it's, on Friday. I'm waiting till Monday to see who is opposing me. But we come and we ask for support. Those signs, those billboards, those newsletters, they don't pay for themselves, right? And so some of us are strong enough, or we've planned enough, and we have money in our accounts, and we know, but we are strong enough not to compromise who we are, because, in order to get into office. But you put people in positions where they are being sponsored, so to speak, or they get money from certain groups, because our community is not supporting them. We are not supporting them. And then you demand, the community demands that they act in a certain way, but the community is not there for them in the dark of the night or in the heat of the day. when you're being called to task to vote for certain positions or to pass legislation or to look at certain issues. And we are not only representing the Muslim community. When you have a million people you're voting for, 100,000 people you're responsible for, believe it or not, even though you would like to idealistically think that we are only beholden to the 3,500 people in your community who call themselves Muslim, that is just not the fact. You are beholden to, you are not beholden, you are responsible for everyone in your community. And if the Muslim community does not show up at your meetings, does not call and check on you to make sure, hey, sis, you all right? Call into your meetings to give public comment or just show up and sit or call and look at the agenda and say public comment or not even just speak, just be there, check on you. That can be a very lonesome place. And I've said it before and I will continue to say it. We need just as much support to get elected, but we need even more support to stay elected. And I think that this community does not do that, but it has 100% expectation that is, and I will say this and I will go back on mute. Brother Michael, you mentioned chattel slavery, and I can tell you this community puts those of us who do get into office or who aspire to get into office in the same bondage as that, because the expectations on people who either run for office or who are elected is quite bonding, or is quite suffocating, and is quite I can't think of the English word, but yeah, I will go with suffocating. But it is quite one way because the community is not there. The community just doesn't show up to support. Esto, gracias for listening.
Bueno,
Thank you,
con,
sister.
con mucho
I got
gusto.
Mike, I got my hand up, brother, before you started.
No,
Thank
no, I wasn't going to say anything.
you. Forgive me if I don't believe you. I was just being funny there. But
That's a joke, Michael.
I'm laughing on the inside.
okay, man. Two things, and some you said, Michael, and it's kind of piggybacks on some Sister Cheryl said. One of the phenomenons of slavery was that it destroyed the man. It took the role of the black man away. It made him weakened. And it raised up the woman more than the man. All right. So that goes back to if you in the Quran where Allah talked about Pharaoh in Israel, right? He said he destroyed the man and let the woman live. Isn't that the order that was given?
Yes.
He destroyed the man and let the women live. That's the same tactic that was used for us. That the man was destroyed. I know growing up, I told the story before. I know growing up, my mother, God bless her, alhamdulillah, she worked. She had a decent job. I guess it wasn't the best job, but with IRS. My father died when I was one. So I remember her meeting this brother, and she was dating him. But he had a job at a black funeral home, which wasn't paying that much money. And I'm sure he was intimidated because my mother made more money than he did. And he felt the only thing he had of superiority over her was his fist. You understand? That phenomenon occurred again and again and again in the African American community. If you came from a dual parent household, alhamdulillah, Allah bless you. I grew up in the projects where the majority of the African Americans were. And that was the phenomenon we had. And that is translated to today. The woman has a job, the average women work, but the brothers don't have much. Same problem existing today, and even more so now that you have the Trump administration. What have they been doing? They've been going to DOD, IRS, social services under the myth of uh, DEI, right? Under that myth, and they've been laying off women, right? Mothers, the ones that traditionally had good, decent jobs.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on right now. They're undercurrent. They're rolling back the things they created during slavery. Sister Cheryl, I have one thing to say to you.
Yes, sir.
And you're upset of a phenomenon that exists that you or nobody on your campaign team advise you of. Now, if you in Fayetteville or Cumberland County, even in North Carolina, I'd help you. You follow me?
Yes, sir.
I used to tell the Muslims in Fayetteville when I joined these organizations, why did I join organizations? I was encouraged to join organizations by Imam W.D. Muhammad. When in the early 80s, he said, in probably late 70s, he said, go out and join the dead. Anybody around in the first that recognize that language? Or am I dating myself to show how long I've been around? Which one? But yeah, he
It's
said
the
go out.
first I ever heard of that statement.
Okay, well, brother, during the Nation of Islam, we were told don't join the dead. You understand? We didn't participate in the civil rights movement because the word went out of don't join the dead.
Mm.
Imam Muhammad came in and skillfully brought us into Universal Islam and also told us to go join the dead, get involved, go join organizations, right? And he said this, and by nature, the cream will rise to the top. I remember that specifically sitting on the floor during one of Imam Muhammad's 4-hour lectures. We got to ease now. We think hours long. We go into a call, and we would call this number and have it on the speakers, and the man would talk 4 hours. He was dropping bombs, right? So he said, go out and join. I used to be in favor when I came to Fayetteville in '84 and I started getting involved in organizations. I used to come back to the match and say, heck, I ain't the only Muslim in Fayetteville. Instead of y'all being out here being mad at me because I'm out here, oh, look at it, he's out. Well, you get out here with me. I used to have Christians that would ask me, where the other Muslims at? Like I'm the only Muslim in town. And I see, based on what Sister Cheryl said, that there still is a problem. That has not been, and in terms of money, that shouldn't be a surprise. We can't even support education.
Uh,
Our education for our children. Much less give money to a political candidate. Some of them think you shouldn't be running for office anyway.
Right.
Because they're not getting their inspiration from anything the Imam Muhammad said. They're out there listening. They used to listen to the immigrant Muslims who now that it's been proven that they ain't white. Now and I told you last week I get immigrant clients, and they come into my office mad as all get out because the Caucasian is coming for their business and talking about this ain't fair. I said, brother, have you ever read the Constitution? Because if you had, you know the word fair ain't in it, right? I said, your problem is, and it's one of my clients, and I don't care, I talk to him the way I talk to any brother, sister, basically, respectfully. But I said, your problem is, brother, you run around here for all these years, you thought you were white. And now the Caucasian is treating you the way he treated my people for 200 some years. I said, congratulations now, brother. You're the new Negro.
Mhm.
You understand? So saying that to say this, Sister, don't be despaired, don't be disheartened, don't be surprised, and definitely don't be surprised.
Right.
You know. But you have thought that Muslims were a certain way when we ain't. We're not like that, unfortunately. So I hope you win and you can put something in text or whatever. I'll send you a little donation. It ain't gonna be much now. You might be able to buy your team some coffee or something, but you ain't gonna be.
Hey, it all adds up.
There you go. Good luck. All right.
So, Sister,
Assalamu alaikum.
Sister Cheryl, Sister Cheryl, which position are you running for, and in which jurisdiction?
I am running for re-election to West County Wastewater District and for the Northern California Environmental Caucus. So the West County Wastewater District is a water board that covers West Contra Costa County here in Northern California.
Okay.
It's one of the larger water districts. It's be my third term. As of Friday, however, there is I'll find out on Monday if I have any other challengers. But I've paid some of the fees, but we'll see. As of Friday, it doesn't look like it, but we'll see.
Have you run unopposed the other
No,
times that
I've
you ran?
never run unopposed.
Okay, so you've always had
Everybody else
competition.
has, but they always find the brown person.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question too. Does the community, obviously I'm talking locally around you, but also say the greater community, let's say even of us, do they know how important your position is?
They do. They do. And one of the things that I'm doing is the money that I have raised, I'm taking this, and this is why it's important that I make sure that I still do fundraising, is that water on the West, you know this, Brother Edward, because you mentioned it last week.
Oh yeah.
Water in California is gold. Access to water, access to sanitation services, clean water, clean sanitation services is gold here. And we don't seem to make sure that we make it evident in our communities. Now, these white communities, they know, and they capitalize on it. People spend more money on getting on water boards than some spend getting in a state assembly seat, just so you know. And because it carries with it a lot of power and influence, but because I'm a scientist, because I am an environmental scientist and a data scientist, there's whoever runs against me better come with a lunch and some friends. So at the end of this time, they gave up. Every time they get a vote, I get 4. And so my community knows who I am. They They trust that I know what I'm doing. I've been president of the board 6 out of 8 of the years that I've been on the board. I'm president now, and it looks like they've asked me to do it again. There's a saying in Spanish that says, no se atreven. It means they won't dare. It means they wouldn't dare like come up against you. But it depends. We'll see on Monday. But they do know the importance. I don't think they knew the importance if you look back 6, maybe even 5 years ago. But with the national conversation centering on Colorado River,
Yep.
and the bi-national agreement with Mexico on water rights, it has become incredibly important. And you see people favoring running for water boards even more than school districts and city councils. So it is a huge thing, and people get on those before they run for like state assembly, state senate, and even congressional position. My aim is it looks like I'm waiting for Congressman Garamendi, who is 81, he'll be 82 in January. He's going to win his reelection. He's going against a Republican. Republicans here don't fare well, but I'm very close with him. We have a really good working relationship. I expect him to retire in 28, and I will run again for that position. I ran before. I finished second dim behind him. So I'm gearing up to run for that position in 28, which is why it is important to build this coalition. And it is important to make sure you all understand why it is important to continue to support candidates, not just me, but candidates like me I have to keep a presence outside of just the water board and to build up reserves to run, which means I can't just depend on just this network here, because the people who run I gotta have the money in the bank when I do run.
Right.
Brother Sabir is helping me with fundraising. I'm not telling but a small number of people, because when I announce that I'm running, I gotta have that 250 already in the bank. I gotta have that $1 million already in the bank. So whoever even thinks about running against me is already warned that the money's there. So come if you want to. Which is what happened when Nancy Pelosi decided to retire. She's right next to me in San Francisco. That's when Scott Wiener announced he was running, he already had his war chest ready. And that's what we have to do. But Muslims have to be ready to support. That's what we did with Latifah Simon. We already had her ready to go. So when Barbara Lee retired, Latifah had money in the bank, and we have to be ready to do. But Latifah had to depend on a lot of different sources, because Muslims, quite honestly, weren't pouring out money. And a lot of these people here didn't even know she was Muslim. We did locally, but they didn't know. They know I'm Muslim, but I'm also been in the greater community for 20 something years. So I know that I can get money from a lot of places. But I also like doing my work in the background and not telling people what I'm going to do.
So just on a broad stroke, how beneficial would it be to the community, the African American Islamic community, for someone like you, sister that you just mentioned, our brothers in New Jersey for sure, and across the country, African American Muslim men and women who are in elected office, for the Muslim Journal to have recurring articles about you all and your work and how important it is. Because I rarely see that. And maybe I'm just overlooking it. Adam, Michael, tell me if I'm wrong. I don't see that much.
we are not where we're supposed to be as Muslims in terms of engagement. We are not doing that because we're not really reading the Quran to see what Allah says in terms of, the involvement, you know, Prophet Muhammad's example in terms of engaging um, uh, the ignorance and oppression within the society. That's an obligation. God says our own souls obligate us, but we're not seeing that in terms of where the rubber meets the road. Um, I have been favored by Allah. Like I said, in Birmingham, I learned a lot in terms of the political realities of Negro managers, individuals that were in positions in the school board, the city council, the mayor, but they were not um, really sensitive to having a playbook and a focus beyond the parameters of political engagement. Oftentimes, let me to go here. Selma, Alabama. I worked with Imam and attorney Yusuf Abdul Salam. He's involved with good government with Brother Fleming's organization, Fleming Elamines organization. But he had a particular view from his study of the Quran in terms of engaging politics. And it was noticed the Muslim population of Selma, Alabama was less than 1%, uh, much less than 1%. But he lived and engaged the community in terms of a servant. Uh, he established something that was very unique in terms of political or government leader organizations. He he went into the community and identified mainly a senior group of people. They were elders mainly, and he identified them as a deputy. He was running for the city council, and he identified them as his deputies. That he went into office with a group that was supportive of him, but he's also letting him know, what their concerns were, where he needed to give more help to the community. And I saw that as being unique. But his 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 character was that of not only a political tactician, but also as a student of scripture and a student of Imam Muhammad's, what you mentioned, Brother Adam, of engaging, you know, working, working with the community to help make the community better. And, you kind of capsulized the language. But the Imam told us to go out, join these meetings in the neighborhood meetings and help set up the chairs, get involved, you know. Uh, we don't have the right overall. We don't have the right mindset right now, and I think it's going to change because Allah knows how to get our attention. And when circumstances hit us, uh, and some of the bitterness of life strikes us, it sobers us up to see that we need to consider doing something different. And I trust that. You have to disengagement in business and in governance and so forth. It has to be done because it's the right thing to do. because you don't have a lot of support. You know, the social conditioning even among Muslims is such that we're not as aware as we need to be about critical issues. We're just not aware. But I have a firm belief, and I see it with this progressive movement. I have a firm belief that Allah is preparing leadership for the future. And the way Imam explained that is that he hides those people. He protects them until they have matured enough and the time is right for them to be identified. That this is a sunnah of God, how God operates, you know, and we can see it in scripture. And the last thing I want to say is that there are certain elephants in the room, so to speak, like the feminist movement and the womanist movement, you know, are responses to hundreds and thousands of years of women being identified as having no souls. That it's a script. You know, we talk about, you know, the what do you call it? The society and not having our religion connected with the work that we do in the public sphere. But that's not the reality, you know. We're dealing with issues of women not having souls, and the response to that, the Jezebels and the other negative identifications of women, and the response that we're getting from that is a response that's not healthy because we don't understand what we're responding to. Uh, these again social conditioning, and we were given, like Adam said, you know, 4 hour lessons of insights in terms of not only what Scripture says, but how the world is operating above our heads. But many of us are not connected with the kind of knowledge body that Imam Muhammad represents in describing these things, or even being connected with the understanding that because of what happened to us in America in terms of the oppressive circumstances, God gave us Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman and on, up even up to Elijah Muhammad and his son W.D. Muhammad, to help move us into a healthier place here in America. Um, I'll stop with that.
This is 100% probably off the subject. It's a little bit about what we talked about, and it does have to do with a little bit with the view of women in this particular society, and it probably has a lot to do with where you come from. So, putting aside Al Islam for a moment, so I didn't come into the Islamic community until I was in my early 30s. So I've basically spent half my life as a Muslim, the other half I was not, roughly somewhere around. In my household, I had four sisters. My mom was there, my dad was there, two grandmothers, one grandmother, which I really never knew her. She died when I was 1. The prevailing presumption was of all those women that I just mentioned, that their feet never touched the floor, that they were elevated above all people in the world. Never say a bad word against them, never do anything but help them with anything they need you to help them with, always give them praise, never denigrate them in front of anybody, be kind and gentle in their presence. When I came into Al Islam, nothing changed. The transition for me from the un-Islamic world to the Islamic world as a basis of my life, that was one thing for sure that didn't change. Single malt whiskeys went away, but that didn't change. So within our community, somebody coming in raw in 1990, that was me. And what I learned, first on the floor in Atlanta at the Atlanta Masjid, and back in Dallas, Masjid Al-Azhar. When I got back to Dallas, under Imam Yahya Abdullah, who's now in Jacksonville, Florida, nothing changed for me. I revered my mother, revered my sisters, revered my grandmothers. You can spread that out to aunties and even female cousins to this day. So for us as Muslims, why would we have a problem with women? No, nothing scriptural, nothing sunnah. Everything the prophet did, sweeping floors, making meals, doing other little things around the house, contributing to the household in that way. Everything points to partnership, equality, at the very least. I mean, most of the women are above us, but let's just say equality. Right? Paradise is at the feet of a woman, or you could say the mother, the whatever, however you want to state that. You know what I mean? So for us, and for us to be able to strongly spread the message that women are to be revered, that should be one of the easiest things for us to do. And to acknowledge what women bring to the table. That should be one of the easier things for us to do. So what am I missing?
You're missing trauma. You're missing this.
Dude, you think my
Can
parents
I
no,
finish?
well, hold
Can I
on. My
wait,
parents
wait,
are
wait,
African
wait, wait?
American.
You asked the question. Let me answer.
But my
You
parents are
asked. Wait,
black.
wait. You answer. You asked the question. Let me answer it.
Okay.
Don't
I gotta hear
interrupt.
this.
Don't interrupt my flow.
I gotta hear this.
I need the flow too.
Because I must not be black.
No, see, that's not that's a stalking horse kind of stuff, man. Listen, trauma, your circumstances, and I've mentioned this before. You have certain circumstances. I experienced similar in terms of respect for women in my growing up, but everyone didn't experience that. The the environment that many come up in, brother Adam spoke to, you know, the projects and some of the dysfunctionality that is involved in the projects. Our identity issue as Black people, Black men, has affected us in terms of, okay, we've been called to Al Islam by a very practical, common sense leadership dealing with logic, not only of scripture, but logic in terms of how we organize and live our lives. But for many, life wasn't organized. For many, life was dysfunctional, and the identity issue in terms of following other strands. We may be in the house of the associates of Imam Muhammad, but not really trusting that leadership and looking at others and their expression of Islam while we're among the associates of Imam Muhammad. I've seen it too often. Individuals. You know, the history of the Arabs was a disrespect for women. Burying female girls alive and that sort of thing, and even up into this day, the wanting to manage the women, to control women, which is not Islamic. What controls us is the guidance of God. We don't try to control one another, but there are those who have that mindset among us, that have to have control and manage. So there again, I keep plucking this note of social of being socialized in a certain kind of way. Our sensitivity is being affected in a certain kind of way. There's a book about women, an environment that had been created where women were more afraid of getting married than they were of having children and taking care of children by themselves. There are influences in the social life that keep us from really having a healthy and productive life as a group. Individuals, have certain disciplines that provide a certain modicum of good life or stable life, productive life, but there are a lot of influences out there to keep, and education is a big part of this thing, in terms of changing the paradigm. And again, my trust is in God in terms of that He has said where He's taking this human family. He said where He's taking it, and the utility is the power of choice, the freedom of choice that we have. And when we find out that we're doing something right, we get the good results. And when we do things wrong, utilizing this freedom of choice, we get the harm. And the harm hopefully will have us see, okay, well, look, we need to do something different. Maybe we need to look at what Allah says we need to do. And again, this idea of religion being divorced from the social life and particularly the governmental life. Look, COINTELPRO kills that kind of idea. The COINTELPRO was an idea of a savior, someone to bring black folks together. That just like the people of the Bible were looking for Jesus, and they were looking for Moses. They killed the men, killed the potential for leadership in the outer society that will help bring about productive and stable social life. I'll stop there. It's got a lot of moving parts to it. Thank you.
It does, and it makes me ask a question of how much of our, and I am talking about Muslims now, how much of our worship is performative and how much we really believe.
I think you've hit upon something.
And if it's not performative, if it's truly a seeking to believe and follow Sunnah, I know it's hard. It'd be hard to put a number on this, but what kind of time frame are we talking about? 7 years in, 10 years in, 20 years in? Should you be? Should there be really some signal and not just noise? Something's getting through. At what point, well, 50 years after Imam W.D. Muhammad, 51 years after, he comes into leadership. And even though he left us in '08, his message with modern technology is still with us. Signal seems strong to me. Is there anybody listening?
Sister Cheryl's hand is up.
Yeah, I'm about to go. Go ahead, Sister Cheryl.
Okay. So uh, I'm going to take a divergent view, perspective, Brother Michael. I heard, Brother Edward, I heard what you said. I also want to say this. How we respond to events that occur to us, whether it's trauma or otherwise, is a choice. I know people don't think it's a choice, but it is a choice. We can respond positively or negatively. We can seek to understand what has happened to us. We can seek to perpetuate the harm that has happened to us, or we can seek to respond differently. It is the difference between a family of 6 children all experiencing the same type of trauma and all responding differently and going down different paths. Yes, some of it has to do with your DNA and how your particular brain is wired to deal with situations and trauma and everything, but it also boils down to a choice. And then also, then they sometimes what we do is we give people an out, and we don't let people. We don't hold people accountable enough. I just read this morning. I was going to bring it up tomorrow on map 5, and I can give you a preview of what I'm going to talk about. Andrew Gillum. You know who that is? Those of you in Florida know who it is. Jacksonville. You know what it is, right?
I know who he is, and I don't live in Florida.
I know you know who it is. You know what it is, right? Brother Michael.
I'm trying to think now. The name is
He
I'm
ran for
familiar.
governor.
I'm familiar with. Now I remember. Yes.
He ran for governor
Yes,
against DeSantis.
I remember. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Andrew
The
Gillum.
scandal.
Andrew Gillum came across my feed. He ran for, I'm a big political person. Politico with the O on the end. So I read, I watch all the news shows and I watch all that. So a few years ago, Andrew Gillum, what was it, 22? Not even 5 years ago. This guy was seen as here's a next coming Barack Obama. They were positioning this guy. There's something about him that bugged me. Because for me, he looked like a used car salesman. He didn't look like Obama. He just, a guy who can't look you in the face. He's somebody who I don't trust. My grandmother used to say that, right? Can't look you in the face, Mia. Mentirosa means he's a liar.
Mm.
So, because I met him back when we were doing work in DC, and he's something just inherently wrong when a man can look you in the face. I'm not talking about, our Islamic principles. I'm talking about you can't look me in the face. I don't shake hands with men anyway, so it's a whole different thing. But you should be able to look me when you're talking to me. It's a shameful kind of look, right? So this guy, when he lost to DeSantis, but way before he lost to DeSantis, see, most of you saw his downfall when he lost. But way before that, this guy was doing all of this partying a lot. So the backside of politics is when we go to Black Caucus, I've been going to Black Caucus and Hispanic Caucus. So Congressional Hispanic Caucus and the Congressional Black Caucus usually around the same weeks in September. Every other year, they end up in the same week. Like this year, they'll be in the same week and they overlap for like a day or two. On the off years, it's 1 week is Hispanic Caucus, the next week is Black Caucus. And I go every year. And that I go because it's clout in this leadership training, right? And so we go and we're supposed to be talking about policies, get down to business. What all of us come from all over the country, some outside the country. What are we gonna do? Work out the agenda, whatever. I'm gonna tell you, quite frankly, I enjoy the CHCI, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute, so much better because we leave. We is no big rah-rah, is no big part. We do have a party. We have a gala at the end. But those 2 days when we are there, we get to business. And we are all leave with an agenda. And they send us away with some work. We leave with action items. We leave, we go back to your community. This is what you're going to do. And then mid-year, we all get back together. We get back together once a quarter, but we get back together mid-year with what'd you do? What'd you do? What'd you accomplish? Okay, what we need to do now before we come back together again in September. When I go to Black August, I'm going to tell you the truth. Is like everybody's trying to figure out how they're going to get to the next party. They got day parties. They got the black party, the black and white party, the Jay-Z black party. They got the black and white party. Then they got Tay Diggs and uh, uh what's his name? They got all these actors having parties. They got people who ain't got no
Yeah.
business still doing step shows. Like you ain't been in college for 40 years. What are you doing step show stuff for? I'm over here talking about somebody come get your grandma. Cause
Ossie Davis challenged that. Ossie Davis challenged that.
yeah, I mean,
That
come
man.
on. Where is the call to action? Because and here's the hard part for me because it always occurs after Hispanic caucus. So you see the example, and there's
Yeah,
some of us who go to both, right? And
yeah.
there's some sponsors who go to both. And so when I see the Black people who go to the Hispanic caucus and I see them again at the Black caucus, they say the same thing. They're very disappointed.
It's
So
dysfunctional.
this is where I saw Andrew, this is where I met Gillum at the first time I met him years ago, about maybe 12, 15 years ago when I met him. And he was partying in the Black Caucus. And it's the kind of partying that makes you uncomfortable, right? I don't like people around me because I never drank, I never smoke, I never did any of this. Not because it's funny because I always tell my children this story. In college, in high school, and all of that, not because of, I'm gonna be honest, it had nothing to do with religion or anything else. That wasn't it. It's because, quite frankly, I'm a I'm a type A personality. It's my control issue. I like I just it has to do with that. I don't drink like a lot of soda because I don't like the way it made me feel. It had nothing to do with anything else but that. So that's why I never did when I was younger. So I saw this guy. So recently, to speed it up, recently in the news this morning, he was arrested again. So if you remember back then when he lost that race, there was questions about him. There was something about him that didn't sit right with people. That's why they didn't vote for him. It wasn't because they were in love with Ron DeSantis. It was something about him when he answered questions. He seemed evasive. He seemed like he just didn't sit right with the people in Florida. He didn't sit right with some Dems. That's why they didn't support him as much. And then right after he lost the race, he disappeared. His wife was like, they were looking for him. They didn't know. He disappeared in Florida. And you remember where they found him, Edward? Brother Edward?
Okay, so I'm trying to think if it was a trap house
It was a
Well,
hotel, remember?
hotel.
A
Oh yeah, there
hotel
was some women involved and some drugs.
and
Yeah,
some men. It was men. It was
yeah.
Yeah,
men,
that's
I
right.
male sex workers.
I
Right,
remember.
And
right.
it was they were like bodybuilder. He was supposed to be going to a so-called friend's wedding, some college friend's wedding, and he didn't take his wife. And he was drunk and high or whatever. And they found him in the hotel room, some motel room, not even a hotel, motel strip mall type hotel. And the guy had overdosed. And when they got to the hotel, they found out this guy was a sex worker. And he said that he and Andrew were friends. And all of that come out. He denied it, whatever. He came up, he was up for indictment for like 15 charges of fraud, using campaign money for personal use, whatever. He beat that charge except for one charge, I think. Anyway, his life kind of spiraled out of control. He was, because they found in that hotel room like cocaine and meth and weed and all these other stuff, along with that sex worker. That sex worker said he and Andrew were friends, but the other guy who was with them said, nah, we more than friends. He denied it for years. A couple of years ago, he went on a talk show with his wife and he came out like he's bisexual. The thing is that the community continued to uphold this guy. Black people and even Dims, because they kept wanting him to be something he was not until that show. And then he checked himself into rehab saying he had alcoholism right before this show. It was before the show, after he got caught in the hotel. This morning, he was arrested. He was let out of jail in July because he was arrested like numerous times in between 22 and now. They just arrested him again. The man has a meth problem. He has, he's a drug problem. And meth is horrible if you know anything about meth. And I brought that up because this is what happens. This is, it's this cycle. But we keep holding people up. He was supposed to be some progressive. He was supposed to be this and that. And you put these tags on them. But they would rather hold somebody up like that, who is meeting this mold. He had this look. He had this talk. He said the right things. He dressed a certain way, but he was hiding all of these other stuff. His second personality, he was an infidel to his wife, right? He betrayed his vows. He betrayed all of these stuff. And he betrayed his community. And he came out, he apologized, and he went right back to doing it again. And people were sending the money and all of these stuff. But then you have people who are actually doing the work, who are not getting that support, and who are not lying, and who are not um, betraying the system. I don't like the word cheating, but who weren't betraying the system. That's what I have a problem with. And so I don't call myself a progressive. I don't call myself a liberal because I think it's been bastardized. Those words don't serve us well. I am forward thinking. I believe in innovation and what is best for the community, nor what's best for the narrative. And that's what I think our community has to get its head around. Is don't just latch onto words because those are the words of the words de jour, right? The words of the day. We have to look at what's behind them.
Yes.
The brother in Michigan does not call himself a progressive. He will tell you. He say he doesn't call himself a democratic socialist. He doesn't even talk about like working class, which is what another word of the day. He say he's doing the right thing. And that's what we have to talk about.
That's right.
Just do what's right. You don't have to grasp onto, and this is what I say in when I'm talking to the public. Now, don't put me in a box. Don't give me a label. I'm just doing what is right for the people. Because as soon as you get a label, somebody who's doing the wrong thing is going to grab that label and extort it. Es todo.
You have to do it because it's the right thing to do. If you're doing it for my people and all, that your people can
They're gonna turn on you.
break your heart.
They'll break your heart. They'll turn on you.
Yeah,
Right.
you
I
know,
think I think we have to seek support from people who supposedly have the same type of belief system that we do.
that's the key.
But like Sister Cheryl, and I think Michael, you may have said this earlier, Adam as well. You're really working for the entire community,
Yeah,
right? For
Yes.
every constituent, you're working on their behalf. And I have
Yeah.
always held that if it's good for us, and now I'm talking about Muslims, if it's good for us, it's good for everybody,
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
right?
Yes.
So it needs to be dialed down and fine tuned to what is actually going to be best, period. Filter that through Quran and Sunnah and what is best, and that's the platform that you stand on,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And I kind of wish where I live in Texas, I almost wish that we had the type of open primaries that they have in California. And I
Yeah.
know it's sometimes beneficial to identify yourself as a Democrat or Republican, but for a lot of us, just running for office because we have a platform that we think is the best one for the people, whether you want to call that independent or whatever, would be a very strong stance.
Right.
That's just my belief. And
there's a book.
I wish we were able to do that.
There's a book called Servant Leadership by Robert Greenleaf,
Yeah.
and he talks about uh, the idea of service, and it's very much an idea connected with the Quran. Servants serving God. The best of you are those who are the best for the society. You know, this guy is really, the book was published around 1977, and he talked about a special kind of leadership coming out of the African American and also the displaced people that are not necessarily African American, but are still going through issues of fracture and so forth. And he talked about how out of that group, a new type of leadership would be developing during a time of crisis in the Western world, in America. He kind of called it a tsunami effect. But he was saying that it would be best for those individuals. He was a corporate guy, worked for GM for a number of years. He said that it would be best for those who are established that when this tsunami subsided, that you give help to those unestablished people. But he described them as being a group of people that they would decide whether or not they wanted the help or not. That's how independent that this new leadership group would be. That you know they would either say yes or yay or nay in terms of any help that was being offered. Whether or not it's much like I'm seeing this being modeled by President Traore and his exposing the weaponization of religion in his country and in Africa, and how this is like you know uh, a problem for destabilizing those people that are trying to become established and breaking away from the bad business deals that went on for hundreds of years by the colonialist. But yeah, the man is a Muslim in his behavior. He doesn't wear his Islam like a badge, or some type of jewelry. He just recently said that he was Muslim, as far as I know, in terms of the public. But what he's doing, he's connected with the people and the needs of the common people, and that's where his focus is in stabilizing the life of everyday folks. And that's servant leadership, in my opinion. Thank you.
Agree.
Yeah, that's an interesting situation. I want to see how it plays out. I understand what he's trying to do. I understand he's in a very difficult position.
They want to kill him. They want to kill him.
Well,
He's a model. You want to kill the model to keep it from taking root.
the interesting thing about that, Michael, is I think that there are a lot of people on both sides that don't kill him.
Yeah.
Not just from the side that you might think
No, I
that
agree.
want to kill him.
Yeah. The Dems don't want him there either. The regular Dems, right?
Yeah,
Because he's a threat to establishment politics.
that's right.
Is that what
Well,
you mean, Edward?
yeah, anytime that you take away my lifeline, even if it was for the betterment of the people, but it was my lifeline. The French
Sure.
were there, and the French were paying me a monthly stipend to make sure that I had a particular message from my platform, right?
Sure.
And now they're gone. And even though I personally may acknowledge that it's a better thing for the country and for all my fellow citizens that the French are gone, my money's a little short now.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Right?
Yeah.
And if anybody needs to get paid, it needs to be me. So if Traore is gone, maybe me or my camp can be elevated in the position that he's in.
Get
So
that money
wherever
back.
money is coming, well, you don't have to come back. You don't have to invite the French back in, but somebody's going to want in, right? The Russians are trying to get in. The
Doesn't
Chinese
matter
are going to
the
try to
source.
get in.
The source doesn't matter. Just get the
Right,
money back.
exactly. Just the money,
Yeah, I agree.
right? So yeah, I think it's coming from all sides.
Yeah.
And I think that was his reaction to the Islamic clerics in the country and this avalanche of his own citizenry who are now going to Saudi Arabia, going to the Emirates to be indoctrinated with their form of Islam. Bring that back to the country
Yeah.
and preach and get paid by the Saudis
Yeah.
without being productive for the country.
Something of that nature was being purported here as well.
Well,
On
that's
a
still
different scale.
going on. That's
Yeah,
still going on here.
absolutely.
The thing of it is the United States is 340 million people, and it can only have a certain amount of influence in
That's
this
right.
country,
That's
and
right.
and mostly within the Islamic community.
Yeah.
That we see the tug of war, so to speak. Losing masjids here and influencing a masjid there, and that
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yes, sir.
But in a country as small, especially economically, as Burkina Faso, it could be significant,
Yeah.
right?
Es-
Very
Especially,
significant,
especially with no infrastructure,
right?
bad business deals for hundreds of years.
Right. And just like Imam Deputy Muhammad, I mean, how many years was it? 35, 40 years
35.
ago that Imam Muhammad said the same thing to the Saudis. No, we don't need your masjids.
That's right.
So this is nothing new. I mean, Tor is not the first one to say no.
Yeah, but being able to see how these systems operate and how these patterns form and how they're situated today, and it's like an idea whose time has come. There've been independent Lumumba and so many African progressive leaders, and I use that terminology loosely, uh, trying to establish good for the common good for the people are being assassinated. You know, it's an ongoing war. You know, good and righteousness and community establishment for the whole versus the selfish, the unempathetic, you know, the egotistical, you know, selfish types of souls, you know,
Look,
and the
couple.
battle goes on.
If you're someone like President Troy, and I'm sure this one of these two things he's already done is that you have to surround yourself with people who are so married to you that they'll die for you.
Yeah, I was just reading about that. Yeah,
Right? That's one thing. The other thing is those people who are on the outer ring, just outside of that tight circle, are people who, if it's not you, they don't want it to be anybody else from the outside.
yeah,
Right? So if they can't get to you to replace you, they're definitely not going to let anybody from the outside come in and usurp them. Right?
yeah,
Because it's either going to be you or it's going to be them, nobody else. So they'll fight half your battles for you of keeping other people out from getting close enough to cause you harm. If you go back and look at a lot of those African assassinations of African leaders, they were first captured by people who they thought were close to them
yeah,
and held for the Americans, held for the British, held for the Dutch to come in and take them away and kill them. People who were close to them put the gun to their head and tied them up and then
yeah,
made a phone call and said, "We got him."
yeah,
So you have to be really careful about the people that you have close to you. The other thing is this: a lot of the trickeration, that's my uncle
I,
used to call it,
I
trickeration,
haven't heard that one
trickeration.
in a while.
A lot of the trickeration that's going on is being done in plain sight.
Yes, sir.
So you put your hand in your pocket to protect your wallet, they leave, and you realize you ain't got no shoes anymore.
Yeah,
You have to be watchful of everything.
yeah. It's like
Everything.
it's like the overall comment of Jomo Kenyatta. You know, they came, they gave us the Bible. We closed our eyes.
Right.
And they had the land, and we had the Bible.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a very complex game. It gets more complex every day. That's why it's
But
important that,
when you can see the patterns, and that's something that I've come to see in terms of my reading of the Quran and studying of Prophet Muhammad's life. There are patterns that need to be recognized in terms of the souls and how certain souls they express a certain language, you know. Uh, and they also give off a certain kind of vibration based
and every human being gives off a glow.
yeah, so being able, like sister Dr. Cheryl said, she recognized a certain kind of vibe coming off this guy
Exactly.
Gilliam.
Right.
And
Yeah.
women are better at it than men are,
They're women are better because their survival depends on it.
That's
And-
exactly what I was gonna say. That's
yeah,
exactly what I was gonna say. It's an instinct. It's an
yeah,
instinct. Yeah.
absolutely. And also in terms of their connection with new life children that
Yes.
can't tell you what they need, so they have to be able to read the signs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah.
So I shared this with my older son. So my older son is a psych professor uh, at Cal State San Marcos, and he does these classes, these gender based psychology classes, to, I want to say second and third year psychology students. So
Mm.
last year we were talking about a long-term study that had, I think the study took place at Cambridge University in England. And it was a study that began in the 1970s. They published, I want to say their initial publication was 2017. You know, then you have all the peer reviews and all that stuff. So there's a final publication that came out in 2023. I just read it last year. So I was sharing it with him because it's something that was a surprise to him too. This is the incredible nature of the feminine body. And it bleeds a little bit into what you guys were just talking about. So when a mother is breastfeeding, the saliva from the child is absorbed back into the feminine body.
Mm-hmm.
And from that chemistry in the saliva, the formula of the breast milk changes to meet the
Oh,
needs of the
man,
child.
Yeah.
man, oh man, that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah. There is also the principle that there's an exchange of between the mother and the child in the brain, right? I did the research on that.
That's interesting. I'm beginning to wonder. I heard about the mother passes on the spirituality to the children, and I was wondering, just curiosity, whether the mitochondria is connected with that kind of
I'm sure
activity.
it must be. It must be. Because mitochondria is a more powerful scientific tool than DNA and
Mm,
probably even than RNA.
that's interesting.
I
Wait,
mean,
say your
it's
question again. What's your question?
well,
I, my,
his. Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Michael. Go ahead, Michael.
I have learned that the spirituality is passed on from the mother to the children. And I became aware that mitochondria is something that is female transmit, female transmitted,
Right.
mother to mother, mother to daughter,
Mother
and
to
so on.
child. That's
Child,
how you
child.
track.
That's right.
That's how you actually track most accurately heredity, lineage, and all that is through mitochondrial DNA.
Yeah. So that was my question.
Yeah.
A connection.
Yeah, that's so I'm a cell and molecular biologist and biochemist by training.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I studied. And I started out studying genetics and microbiology. That was my original. And then I said, yeah, this is not granular enough for me. I need to go to cell. I need to go to cell level.
Okay.
So my mom was laughing. She's like, oh, that's just wasn't enough for you, right? So the thing with mitochondrial DNA, you'll see DNA, you'll see RNA, and you'll see empty DNA, which is what
Right.
mitochondrial DNA is. And
Mm-hmm.
but it just means that only the genetic material from the mother's mitochondria is passed down exclusively through the egg cell during fertilization. And that's when
Mm-hmm.
it occurs. It's
Alhamdulillah.
and people think that's, oh, it happens when she's, you know, when she's carrying the child or it's through the pregnancy process. It actually happens during fertilization. That's when it occurs.
Mm-hmm.
Days when, because you have 37 genes in total, right? You have 13 that's protein coding genes, and I'm not going to get all scientific with
Okay.
oxidative phosphorylation and all of that, but
Thank you, ma'am.
yes, and but that's when your transfer RNA genes, and that's what helps like your mRNA proteins carry through the mitochondria, and then you have your ribosomal gene RNA. But
Mm,
that's where all of your, so mitochondrial function is where all your energy and your cellular
Mm.
respiration and all of that occurs. But
Yes.
the reason why it's maternal only is because the mitochondria that's in the male sperm are, they're just usually destroyed in the embryo.
Oh,
So that's why it's mama's baby, daddy's maybe,
yeah.
right?
Okay.
It might be. So it has to be, that's why it's nearly identical to the mother's and the
Mm.
mother's ancestors. So when you see, the paternal empty DNA is almost always absent in their offspring. So when you see
Okay.
babies looking a lot like their mothers in some aspect, is because of that. And there's certain things that I can tell you. So remember that it's only 37 of the genes, the mitochondrial genes, is from the mother because they're all inherited from her egg and they're critical for that baby's energy production, for their mitochondrial health. And from a health perspective, any mutations that happen, it's going to affect their muscles, their brain, their heart. So any ancestry that's passed on through the mother is going to go straight to that baby. And you can trace that. And
Thank-
we use that when we're looking at human development, we're looking at human evolution, when we're looking at the traits, when we're looking at um, lineage, when we're studying any of that. That's what we're studying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. So if you really want to know what you inherit from your mother, we can have that conversation too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there needs to be like a whole series of shows about mtDNA, RNA, DNA, and its long-term effects on the human being and some of the controversial research out there. And some of it I actually am starting to buy into
Mhm.
about the five generation.
I
Of
love,
Yeah.
absolutely.
basically there being no trace left after five generations.
Yeah. But some people, yeah. But I can tell you what you inherit from your mom and things like that. I should just do a whole show on that.
Yeah.
What you inherit from your mom, because a lot of people don't know and they just make up
Right,
stuff.
right.
Because I just had to tell somebody, you just making it up. You didn't inherit your alcoholism from your mama. That ain't true.
Let me share this, because you know, the connection with scripture, especially the Quran, you know, men get kind of plucking their collars, but where God says that the male is not like the female or the female is not like the male, uh, I think that from what you're sharing and what the science is sharing, that that's true, but it's not in an inferior way. That actually, the female contributes so much, in terms of uh, life and the quality of life, you know. And Edward, I mentioned Dr. Andrew Huberman talking about the oxytocin and with the bonding, the nature of bonding with the mother to the child,
Right.
producing that oxytocin. Uh, it's just Allah's creation is just phenomenal.
Yeah. And so
And
in that words of the great philosopher Urbana, urban philosopher Kendrick Lamar,
okay,
let my as my
It's-
children would say, they're not like us.
I thought you were going there.
Yeah, you men are not like us.
Yeah, yeah.
And as my grandmother would tell me when I was growing up, yo soy de otra cría. It
But now,
literally means I'm made of a different
yeah.
wood. I'm made differently. You
But
built
don't, but
differently,
don't,
is what
but
she
don't
say.
get the big head now. We need each other.
She say, but that's what she say. She say, you're built differently. So you say in Spanish, you say, yo soy de otra cría. I'm built
Otra.
differently. I'm built differently, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And so No, it's a good thing because sometimes we get caught up and we like,
Yeah.
oh, men and women are equal. We're built, and I don't believe that we are built we are the same. Um, and I tell my husband, he's good. He tell the men down at the port. It's like one guy he say, would you let your wife work here at the port? Right? He's a longshoreman, and he said, first of all, that's a bad sentence. Would I let my wife? Is probably a bad sentence.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
secondly, I don't have the kind of wife who would ever work at a port.
yeah,
Eh, Uh, and thirdly, um, you, yeah, it's she don't believe in that kind of equality. I would
yeah,
never work at a port. First of all, I've seen the men down there. I would not want to be down there with them. Secondly, my level of equality, mm, if you take offense to this, it's okay. You can go in the corner and think about why you're offended by what I'm about to
Look
say.
at you. Look at you.
I'm just gonna let you know.
That
I don't
language, though.
believe I don't believe I'm equal. I don't believe we're equal. I do believe I'm better, but I don't believe I'm equal to my
I,
husband.
I understand.
I don't believe that men and women are equal. I do believe that, yeah, you guys are different than us, but I believe that I'm better in a different way. You guys need to go to the hospital if you have like a hangnail. I birthed 3 children without medication. So there we go. There's no equality.
Yeah,
Mm-mm. There's no equality there. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm not equal to my husband, and I don't want to be. I think it's a whole different thing, men and women being equal, and I teach my daughter and my sons the same. I'm not taking out trash, and I'm not killing a spider. There, I'm not chasing critters. I'm not taking out trash. If I have to take out trash, I'll be by myself.
Okay.
And but at the same time, it doesn't change the toilet paper roll. So there, I don't know. Something about I don't know. Charmin is the same as a spider to him. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. And it's not just me, it's all the women I talk to around in my circle. I don't know, you guys have something wrong with Charmin
You're
and Braun, the
uh,
paper towel roll. Something about it.
all look, all you have to do is be divorced for a while and you don't have a problem with anything in the kitchen,
I
anything in the
agree.
bathroom.
I agree.
You know,
I travel a lot,
you
brother
learn to
Edward.
take care of all of that stuff.
Yes. I
Yeah,
travel a lot and somehow, yeah, it's always the issue. Every woman I talk to has the same issue. So, like I
yeah.
said, we're not equal and it's okay. I think going back to our discussion about the patriarchal society and what we need to do as Muslims to fix it is just that we need to realize that this whole capitalistic patriarchal bend, we don't need to take on that view that you have to fall into that falsehood that we have to be that way.
Right.
I don't
I,
want to be that
Yeah.
way.
I agree. And really, again, I go back to the scripture. Quran has been given to us to get it right, get the balance straight.
Yes.
But it has to be properly interpreted. Otherwise, we get off the rails with this, with the Quran and Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah, the silliness that we all have to be. I just think it's silly that we have to think that we have to be exactly the same. We're not the same.
That's
We're not
right.
the same. We're not the same. And as long as we think we're the same, we're gonna run into these problems over and over again.
And let's use the logic of following the historical development of men and women and the roles that developed out of that from the very early development of social life and social relationships, you know, and there's something there to be extracted to help us to see uh, tradition in a healthier way and get away from this idea of the modern day, the nuclear, which has become problematic for us.
Yes. For me, sir.
Yeah, Michael, I don't have the same problem with the nuclear that you do because I actually think that it's the building block of community. But I
Well,
do I
I'm,
do agree with you a little bit. I think people take it too far that as long as my little group is okay, everything is okay. I'm not worried about anybody else. So I think that's taking it too far. But I do think that you have to have a very healthy nuclear family to be an example to others in the community that such a thing can be done. And then if it's done in the right way, in other words, that particular family also works in the community to help the rest of the community. All of those healthy nuclear families make for a very strong community. If you have a
that's not.
bunch of disruptive families, you're not going to have a healthy community.
But that's not the logic, though. The historical
Who's
logic.
who's whose logic though?
The historical logic following
Not
creation,
not your history, not your
creation,
history.
creation supported logic. That's the logic.
That's not your history, right? So part of what I try to do, and I don't put this on anybody else, is I separate myself from that other stuff.
What's the
Whatever mainstream media or whatever mainstream sociology or psychology is pushing today,
okay?
right? They're actually somewhere in this greater picture of the world, humanity at large, is a golden thread of truth. And my view is that as a microscope and a guide, get for that, this Quran is perfect. Is that when you read something, when you hear something, you come in contact with something, is that you put it in context of what's in the Quran. And today we have so many tools that allow you to do that very quickly. And then, to go behind those tools and to analyze even at a deeper level if you have that time to do that. So these theories, and they're all theories, even mathematics, they're theories. They're not absolute truths. They're theories. These theories that are out there about human development are just that. So we're not to buy into that. We can acknowledge that this particular psychologist, this researcher, this philosopher, whatever, that they had this thoughts and they wrote extensively on it. And they studied this particular society and all this, and they came to these conclusions. That's not an absolute truth. That same person may come back 25 years later and amend what they thought today. We have to think in reference to the Quran, and really, I guess you have to throw your own experiences in there to a certain extent. Like we were all talking earlier about our family experiences, our mothers, our sisters, our aunties, our grandmothers, and so on and so forth, and how they were viewed and how they were treated. That's our reality. Across town, somebody, as you said, might have a different reality. My reality is what I lived and what I live today. And I make decisions based on that. That this has been good. I have seen this be very fruitful and positive and lead to success. And I know that there are other thoughts out there. They don't have anything to do with me.
Well, it's part of the human experience. They do,
They
and
very rarely touch Michael. They don't touch you very often. They don't touch me very often.
well, there's certain things that we experience that are just a part of the human fabric. Like, for instance, uh, the bitterness of life touches all of us, and there's a reason why life can be bitter sometimes, and sometimes life is more bitter for others than for some than others. Because of uh, knowledge and understanding how the operations of life. You know, ignorance can have you doing the same thing over and over again, thinking you're going
Not
to get
you,
different
not
results.
Michael, not you.
But I'm just saying that's a part of the human condition. You
What
know,
I'm saying is not you personally. When you, Michael Hamid, takes an action and that action goes wrong, and you realize that you have done something that is outside the boundaries of Islam, outside the boundaries of the legal system, so on and so forth, you don't go back and repetitively do that over again, do you?
no,
Okay. So you have a choice as a human being. You have a learning process as a human being. You have a growth process as a human being. So you don't repetitively do things that are damaging to yourself. Why should anybody else?
because of the power of choice and the
You
differences
have they have the same powers that you have.
and the differences in terms of the early beginnings of my human experience and
Look at
how
what
that
did
has
Adam
affected me.
what did Adam Bias say about growing up in the projects and things that he saw?
Yeah.
Does he replicate those acts in his own personal?
Booker T. Washington mentioned the same thing, you know, and the
You you
commonality that he
you
saw
have a
between
choice. You have a choice.
the commonality he saw between white and black, you know, was ignorance, you know, in his growing up. Yeah,
So the commonality that I saw when I was growing up is that I actually had more respect for the African American black people in my community than for most of the whites
yeah,
because I saw more reverence for God in the African American community, God and family,
yeah.
than I saw in the other community, the so-called dominant community. When I went and worked around, when I started working, really working, when I was 16, and I could actually get a job that had a paycheck, my counselor, John Short, Snyder High School, got me and two of my white football teammates a job working for an oilfield service company, Consolidated Tool and Supply. And they just loved me. Star on the football team, good student, good family, nice black person. One of the managers even said I was a right colored Negro, not too dark, not too light, all of that mess, right? But they loved me. So they didn't ever give me like these really, really hard jobs out in the oil field. They didn't want me to get hurt because they wanted me to play football when school started. So they didn't put me on any of the dangerous jobs out in the oil field at that age. So I'd be hanging around the shop all day, cleaning equipment when it came in from the field and getting ready to go back out. And as time was in the 1970s, still some places today, when white men are around African Americans, we're invisible to them. They say anything. I mean, they will say anything. We are totally invisible to them. So they would say anything around them. I was shocked. I would go home and I would say a couple of things about what I heard so and so say today. And my parents would go, "Boy, stop talking. Don't say that stuff. Don't repeat that stuff anymore."
Yeah.
You know, so but I didn't hear those kind of things or see those kind of actions and different things from the African American community. I'm not talking about 100%. We had our bootleggers. We had people that ran illegal little gambling dens and all that kind of stuff. You know, like people aren't perfect. But I'm just talking about the bulk of the people that I was in contact with. I had more respect for the African Americans than I did for the other groups, even though I respected some of them too. So we do make choices, and I think the lesson maybe that needs to be taught is when decision comes down between an easy thing and a hard thing, choose the hard thing.
I agree.
And this is again, it kind of goes back to some leadership type decisions, people in leadership, is maybe we're not teaching the right lessons.
I agree. You reminded me of a Bill Withers song when you was talking. It's just like if people say they love Jesus, but they can't stand the Jews. You know, this
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of it's again it's how your social conditioning meets with your DNA kind of thing.
Well, yeah, and I'll tell you another thing. Having four sisters, three of which were older, I never got cut any slack whatsoever in anything. And that is one of the best lessons of life is I learned a long time ago. I would say by the time I was 12 or 13 years old, excuses don't exist.
Yeah,
My actions are my actions.
yeah,
And I'm not going to blame Mr. Charlie. I'm not going to blame mom and dad. I'm not going to blame my cousin who said it should be okay to do such and such. It comes down to me.
yeah.
Actions have consequences.
And I think, Brother Edward, that was my point earlier, is that we keep letting people off the hook with what happened to me when I was 5, what happened to me when I was 10.
Right.
Okay, well, you're 70 now,
Yep.
or you're 50 now, right? So, because even I have to say, even my own peers, okay, you're 45, you're 50, you're 55. Stop telling me what happened when you were 10 or 15. Either take some responsibility or just know I don't care. And I know that sounds harsh, but it is what it
No,
is. It is what
no,
it is. I'm not going
no,
to sit here and let you tell me that um something happened to you 30, 40 years ago. And now you get to keep using that
no,
as your excuse for not produce or for putting harm on someone else. All of us have a story. Everybody is carrying something. Not one single person that I know is not carrying something. We all carry some kind of weight. If you weren't the one who was beaten or raped or sexually assaulted or robbed, you saw someone who was beaten or raped
yeah,
or sexually assaulted or robbed or harmed or something. All of us carry something. And you have to make a choice to either move forward or to sit in the corner with your thumb in your butt.
now, is that the majority or the minority report?
These my in my report they says I I'm not listening to the excuses anymore.
No, I
Because
understand, but I'm talking about what is the group? What is the group?
I'm gonna let you
Uh,
decide because you said earlier that you have a group Asian, you have group Latino, you have white. But somehow we can't seem to get it together because we keep making excuses. Because yes, child slavery had a harmful effect on our communities. But at the same time, you have to make a decision. Ain't nobody coming to save you. There's no I don't care how many times you go see Spider-Man Next Revolution or whatever the new movie's called. I don't care how many times you go see Black Panther or Superman or Marvel characters, or however what those characters are called now. I don't go see them. You can tell by me not knowing the name of the movie. However, I don't care how many times you go into the theater and you fantasize about some superhero coming. You're your superhero. Look in the
yeah,
mirror and
yeah,
find out that you're your superhero. I got my cape.
yeah,
I'm gonna go to the cleaner and get it fixed. I'm got my own cape. You gotta figure it out.
yeah.
And I'm
Now,
not saying that you can't have moments, but you got to have that moment, shake it off, get up and figure it out. It's a choice. It's a choice. When they
my,
told me my back was broke,
yeah,
when they told me my back was broke, and I had to have multiple surgeries on my back, my ankles, my neck. You guys don't see me, so you can't see that I use four-arm
Yeah.
crutches to walk.
Yeah, I heard you mention it. Yeah.
I use four-arm crutches to walk. If I don't get up and walk on those, I don't move. I walk this hill by my house. It's 2 miles. My husband, my children tell me, they're like, damn, it's hard for me to walk that hill. I walk it every morning. I used to be an elite athlete, a gymnast, and a runner at U of I. I can't do it anymore. So I can sit in the corner and cry about it, or you can get up and you can go. So my level of sympathy, maybe it shouldn't be. I told you my halo crooked.
No.
God's still
No.
working. God's still working
Yeah.
with me.
You're
So,
working.
so,
You're
so,
in process. You're
so,
in
so
process.
my halo a little crooked. I know I'm supposed to have more sympathy, but I do not. I do not.
You're in
I do not.
process. You're in
It's still in process.
process.
It's in process. It fell off a few times, so it's a little bit. It's a little bent
Yeah.
on the edges.
Yeah. Well,
But
you
when I
read.
hear people talk about I can't, I'm like, whatever. When I see people at the hospital, when I see people when I do my work with people with disabilities and we're having to learn how to walk again, I didn't have a voice. I had to learn how to talk again. I didn't have a voice from 08 to 11.
Wow.
I just think, and sometimes I get really hoarse and I don't yell, I don't scream. I have to have special equipment sometimes. And I just think, you know what? You people have no idea how much you
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
And you take it for granted and you whine and you cry and you complain about things that other people would love to have. So I just don't feel sorry. I don't feel sorry. And
Yeah.
like I say, my halo, I
little
gotta
crooked,
I
huh?
gotta dust it off a little bit.
It's got a few dents in it.
Yeah, it's a few dents. It's a few dents. I still have it,
So,
bro. I still have it.
Assalamu alaikum.
so Sister Cheryl, let me ask her a question real quick,
Somebody's
brother.
on your
Then
phone. Yeah.
now he's coming in just a second. I just had a quick question for you.
Yes.
And I didn't know about your
Yes.
physical health conditions until this moment.
Yeah.
Have you kept up with any of the research on the exosuits?
On which one? I didn't hear you.
Okay, it's something called an exosuit.
Oh, yes. I know what that is.
So
Yeah.
you know what those are. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. No, it's my spine is collapsing. It's a genetic condition. Everybody else is like take a toll, and it started when I was like 12. They just told me
Okay.
what's happening with my spine. I'm like 5'1", but well, that's what I say. That's my story. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Okay.
it was-
Excuse me, brother. Go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. This is Brother Timothy.
All right, brother
What's
Timothy.
line, Brother
Assalamu alaikum.
Timothy? Where you calling from, Brother
Man,
Timothy? In
I'm
Atlanta?
calling from Plant City, Florida.
Hey,
all
Plant City,
right.
Florida.
Plant City, Florida. Yeah, I'm enjoying this conversation, man. I've been enjoying this conversation every time since I was able to log on to it. And just that, what actually drew my attention, the doctor mentioned something about cells. He mentioned about DNA, RNA, and stuff like that. Yeah, right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And I don't really hear nobody talking about that, right? Because I'm in with symptomatic science, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I say this sister, she's mentioning some very important stuff that's connected with the human existence, you know. So I was just curious. I couldn't come up with a real good question at the moment, but I wanted to reach out. That's Sister Dr. Cheryl, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah. I wanted to reach out. I was trying to figure out. I had some questions, but it would take me too long right now. You must come up with something real quick. Like, would you have a problem if I sent you an email later, or you sent me something?
Absolutely.
I wanna ask you something about this DNA and RNA.
Yes, sir. I'm putting it in the chat for you right now.
He's on the phone.
I'm
Sister
online.
Dr.
I'm
Sarah.
on the phone.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
was wondering if you could allow Brother Elwood to forward that information to me. He's
No
got
problem.
my email and everything.
No problem. I'm putting in chat, Brother Edward. You can get it to him. No problem.
Now, I wanted to mention,
Okay.
I wanted to go back. I want to go back to the Nation of Islam early lessons, and the teacher of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about a mythological history of Yaqub, and but there's a bit of truth to it in terms of the degree. The language was mentioned, the degree of satisfaction versus dissatisfaction among the people. And so it brought to my mind, that, okay, we've got individuals like you, Edward, and like you, Dr. Cheryl, but what is the state of the people in terms of us resolving some of these issues? What is the degree of awareness as well as the intentionality for changing things for the better? you know, uh, is that not a part of the issue that we're facing? The issues, I should say, that we're facing. The degree of the people who are ready and willing and able to change things for the better.
In my answer to that, Michael, would be that there has to be a unity of spirit.
Have to be what?
A unity of spirit.
I agree.
And that really has to start with individuals, even today, let's say, it has to start with individuals that we have either identified in our community or that we have put forward in our community, excuse me, into positions of leadership, people that have a voice, that are listened to. And we could probably, every one of us could probably go down a list and name 25 people in our greater community that if you say, oh, did you listen to what so-and-so said on YouTube, or did you listen to this, or you listen to that? Or if they're going to be at a convention or some event or something, people buy tickets to go hear their 45-minute delivery. But we don't have that unity of spirit.
Is it moving?
Because
Is it moving towards having it?
no, we have a competition. We have a competition for attention
I agree.
going on in our community,
Yes,
right? You
I
you have you
I
have you have
certainly agree.
you have limited resources, and people are scrambling to pull as many of those resources toward themselves as possible.
As
So
individuals.
as individuals, right?
Hmm.
So you first have to defeat that spirit,
Okay.
right? Overcome that spirit with something greater, so that you can move toward a unity of spirit. So then there's a collective. There's a collective consciousness, a collective direction. And it can always have corrections. In fact, it should have corrections, right? When
Sure.
you're moving
Sure.
towards something, right?
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to see that we actually even have a kernel.
A what?
A kernel, like a kernel of
Oh,
corn,
oh my goodness. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Of that unity of spirit,
Yeah.
right? I think we have an attitude, and there's an attitude that we're Muslims, and because we're Muslims, we're this, we're that, we're somewhat special,
I agree.
we're somewhat elevated,
I agree.
but it amounts to nothing. It's like,
It's not worth a thing. It's not worth a
no, it's
dime.
worth nothing. It's
Yeah.
worth nothing, right?
This is why, Edward, I often say that, the creator is going to have to give us an attitude adjustment. I believe that. Mhm.
Did we lose him?
I don't know. No, he's still there. His mic is open, but we're not. Did your volume get turned down or something, Edward? You're still on. Man. Your mic is open. We're not hearing you. I don't know. It might be a solar flare or something going on.
It's better.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
much better.
It's still low. It's still low though.
Is it? Okay, so
That's
I'll
better.
make,
That's better.
okay,
That's
all
better.
right. So I think this is three years. This is like a record for this particular headset. And it's like the best headset that I've ever owned. So I'm like, man, I don't want to get rid of this headset, even though I'm going to buy the exact same brand again because they're so comfortable.
I hear you.
But I think they might be, because sometimes in the middle of a conversation, the headset will turn itself off and it'll turn itself back on.
Mm.
So I think
Is it wireless?
yeah, it's wireless. Yeah,
Okay.
totally wireless. So I think it's just getting to the point that it's time for replacement.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
the unity of spirit is what we have to move.
I agree.
And we're somewhat disjointed community. We
Yeah.
have this, it's so interesting. We have the same mission. So like if you went, I would say almost 95% of masjids that say they're a part of our community, if you look masjid by masjid, they would tell you that they have the same mission. We're working toward the same thing.
I don't know about that. It's a
I don't
mindset.
either.
It's a
I
mind.
don't either.
It's a mindset now. It's a
Well,
mindset.
that's what I say about attitude as opposed to spirit,
Yes, sir.
right? The spirit is not infusing everybody at the same level. You know, that's why 3 years ago we had 7 schools. Now we have 4 schools,
Mm.
right? We have masjids closing. We have masjids being taken over. Different things like this. We're not a unified body that has a unified goal that acts like a beehive.
It's interesting that you say that because the beehive is connected with Shura Bainahum,
Oh, of
the
course.
activity of the bee.
Exactly.
And
Yeah. We don't have that kind of continuity, and everybody's involved in the survival of everybody else.
yeah.
We don't have that.
So would you say we need an attitude adjustment?
Well, yeah, I mean, but I mean, attitude adjustments every day. Every day I pull myself when I pull myself out of bed in the morning every day, right? Even
I'm speaking to the attitude that
exactly,
you
exactly.
explain. Yeah.
I infuse myself with what I need. I mean, our schedule's already set for the most part, right? I mean, I know the things are in front of me. Now, am I going to apply the energy and concentration and all these things that are needed to be successful in these actions? Or am I going to go through the motions?
Yeah. That's the question.
And I mean, how many of us see people only on Fridays?
That's a situation here in Jacksonville.
If that.
If that, right? If that. So the unity of spirit that probably, I mean, again, I didn't come into this community until 1990, so I can't tell you what went before. There may have been more unity prior to my coming into the community. And there may have been a golden age, say 1985 to 2005. And I hear people talk about those periods of time, and that's the only reason I make those dates. 10-year anniversary to the 30-year anniversary at a time when Imam W.D. Muhammad was at the top of his game. And I say that not from an intellectual standpoint, but also just physically, because I think his work took a toll on him physically
I agree.
in later years. But I think there was a period of time where everything was at the top of its game. And when he was there, I think that he was such a galvanizing figure that he pulled the community in a particular direction, kicking and screaming. Some of them came. But he had such a belief that it was going to get done. And then what about, you guys probably know better than me, because I was really still young in the community when 2001, 2002, all these different times that he resigned as leader of the community because of his frustration with other quote unquote leaders of the community not really taking the baton. And there were multiple batons. He wasn't anointing somebody. He was giving responsibility that he thought it was time for these people to take responsibility.
Yeah, I agree.
He was giving them responsibility. And they were taking it with a limp hand, like they didn't know what to do next.
Yeah,
And I think it was incredibly frustrating to him.
certainly.
So as a community, it's like a family, right? If you're running a family business and you're gonna have, your daughter in charge of production, and you're gonna have your son ahead of accounting, and you're gonna take this son and you're gonna send him to law school, so you got some legal advice, and then you got a son he never wanted to go to college, but he's great with his hands, and you got him making sure all the machinery works all the time and all of that. And you have these people at the top of the game. You have a family business that can run forever. Well, at least you're going to run through that particular generation. But if you have a couple of them that decide that they want to be laissez-faire about it, then you're going to start suffering as a whole.
Losses.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're going to lose contracts, money. You're going to have the tax man at your door if your accountant's taking a few days off. I mean, you're going to have more issues to deal with than you should have to deal with to keep everything going. And the people then who are really putting in the work get disgruntled because others in that body are not holding up their end.
Yes.
And if you have 50% in that body that's doing that, you have a massive problem.
Yeah. Going nowhere.
Yeah, you're going nowhere. And if you don't have a structure in place to adequately replace those individuals with competent people, well, I mean, then you have something that metastasizes.
Yeah. Now, this is something I learned from Imam Muhammad Abdul Alim with his joining me on a regular basis on Not Just Talk. The idea of Prophet Muhammad establishing the Medina model was incomplete. Prophet Muhammad did establish the Quran, but the Medina model was not established sufficiently enough to deal with the internal tribalistic tendencies of those people even closest to him, because his wife and his nephew went to war with one another to shed blood, and they were the closest to the prophet, prayers and peace be upon him. So that's a historical note in terms of our Islamic connection, that the language of the Quran was established, but the model in terms of the social architecture had to take some time before it could move towards health and production. Similarly with Imam Muhammad, he established a knowledge body, and he gave a spirit in terms of the application. Very patient, very long suffering, but constantly looking for where we can make progress and establishment, uh, and the positive attitude that the Quran gives us, that wherever we are, God says He's going to bring us together, and the awareness that the one who created us is going to guide us, that we, that there's a direction that God wants for His human family. He intended that before we were created. The creation is moving in the direction that the Creator intends. So the results we know are going to be as the Creator intends, but it's not like a sprint situation. This is generational movement to overcome the social conditioning that keeps us working against ourselves. So we do what we can while we can and leave the results to the Creator, because it's going to be that way anyway. you know.
Yeah. So let me ask you this real quick. And I would say there are four of us left here. Probably each and every one of us makes an attempt to be at Juma services 75 to 80% of the time.
Not me.
And you don't go that often, or you're 100%?
No, I don't go that often.
Okay. All right. So, but you would if you were in a good situation, correct?
Not necessarily. I'm
Would
still.
that be health reasons would keep you away
Well,
from the masjid, or?
some of it's health reasons, and some of it's me staying back to look at what we're dealing with here in Jacksonville
Well, okay.
from another
That's what I'm
perspective.
saying.
Yeah.
If you were in a better situation as far as leadership in the masjid, if you were in a better community, you would go more often.
Well, the ideal community that I'm looking at, I'm trying to figure out how I can infuse some of that thinking into where we are now.
Right.
I'll
Okay.
put it like that.
Okay. So let's just play a game then and say that we're all in communities where we participate in the community. Not
Oh,
only are we at Juma prayer, but if there's a community meeting or something, that we make an effort to be in that community meetings. How many of us four feel comfortable bringing up a discussion along the lines of what we've discussed today in those community meetings?
I brought it up personally with the imam, and I'm still working on him. But
No,
it's not. But
the
it's
imam
not.
the imam
But
the
he's not.
imam is just another person on the floor.
He's not. He's not the issue really. The issue is with the public.
Okay. But would you feel comfortable at least raising the discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Somebody's got to do it. And do it for the right reasons, that we're not doing what Allah is calling our souls to do, and there's consequences for that.
Right. So then what I'm hearing, at least from you, I haven't heard from Cheryl, haven't heard from Brother Timothy, is that you would believe in enough of what you said today that would in, you would inject that into the conversation in your community and stand on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
calling on brothers so that we need to meet and talk with sisters individually. We had one sister in a meeting where the imam wasn't present, said that we were functioning like we were a secret society. And I went back to tell her about that some months later, and she doesn't remember it, but I remember it distinctly. In fact, the very place where she was sitting when she said it. But it's an environmental situation where,
Right.
you know, when you offer constructive criticism and the invitation to do something different, like you're like the last man out or something like that. It's like a virus being introduced into this unconscious thinking group, that
Mhm.
like a foreign body, so to speak.
Right. But it's something that has to be done. Right.
Absolutely, absolutely. But
Yeah.
you better be strategic with it. You better ask Allah to help you with a strategy.
Yeah. Um. You,
Yeah,
Assalamu
you,
look, somebody's got
well,
to do it.
alaikum salam. No, yeah, somebody's
Yeah,
got to do it. Go ahead, Brother Timothy.
yeah. This is Brother Timothy. I can say myself personally. I know I share something. I try to remind our small group that we have. We actually on a full week. I mean, on a full Juma, we may have a good 20 brothers on this on a regular basis. But on a regular basis, since the community is so small, we have like I just say on a regular basis, we might have a minimum of 5 sisters, which I think 3 of them gonna be brother wives. Let me see. Well, my wife, that's say 4. Okay. With maybe the brothers, they come and go anywhere from. Let me be general. I'll say anywhere from 15 to 20 men. We don't have a masjid. We worship in a community center. That is, we've been there since I found out. I found out. I guess I've been there with them. I know a good 3 years, good 3.5 years, and it's like I say something to them every week about the Quran, about following the Quran, about following the authentic Sunnah, and about establishing ourselves with the best business knowledge that we are aware of, since the government play a major part in the establishment now. Where you don't leave everything to the group no more. Somebody have to take the lead, right? Our name being on the documents, right? So it's like they I'm trying to implement a leadership class, everything. So everybody is on point, right? On the same point, you know what I'm saying? And we're not just following what we seen, what we used to, and all this other kind of stuff. That's actually contrary to what Allah and His Messenger has placed for us to follow, and how to do it. So I mean, I go through that. They slowly trying to come into what I'm saying, because I don't let up on it. I don't want to be following everybody else foolishness and mistakes that they done made. We should be learning from that. And not only that, it is Allah's community. It don't belong to anybody there. So man, I share certain stuff they look at me. They look at me sometimes like I'm crazy. I done lost my mind. But
I hear
they're
you.
agreeable.
I hear you.
But but they're agreeable that I got an excellent point. Always tell me that. Anytime I say that, but see, I tell them, look, it's not about me having a point. It's about how we gonna act on those points that I'm making. I say because we're a small group of people. I think it's what, five? I would say 5 leaders. And they slow about making a sacrifice. And I tell them, look, hey, we ain't gonna get nowhere without no hard work. They ain't gonna get nowhere without no hard work. And we accepted these roles, and we responsible. We accountable. You know, if somebody ain't gonna be there, we need to know ahead of time. Look, unless you just came up with an actual emergency, you know, that's something different. But if you're not gonna be there or something like that, then you got to be out of town. And see, it's not together right now in terms of the functioning of who gonna do what. So you got people that's looking at people putting expectations on, hey, you gonna do this, you gonna do that. Hey, wait a minute. Hey, we need to have some structure here. We need to have this understanding. We need to make the time to create this so we know exactly what's going on and how to support and move this community. So, you know, I mean, alhamdulillah, I think I'm on point with what y'all saying, you know.
Brother Timothy, that is 100% on point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
100%.
I remember Brother Mark told me a while ago, sometime when I come in on them on a Saturday, Brother Mark said, Brother Timothy, you need to get involved. It's like, I'm working on it. He got a little more nerve than I got. Because, you know, I hear him say the other day, no, it was last week, I think, about his concerns, right? You know, health-wise, you know, and you know what I'm saying, I guess I'm dealing with some similar stuff. And I also hear Dr. Cheryl saying, look, you ain't got no excuse. I don't care what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
You ain't got no excuse. We all dealing with something.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Now, Brother Timothy, that is the right attitude. And the fact you're in a wonderful situation in that you're in a small community where you might be able to have a great effect in a short period of time with the people in that community. So that's an excellent lab for being able to judge how quickly a group of people can pick up on something that's going to move them forward.
Yes.
and adopt it as their own, right? I mean, people have to buy in, and like it's almost becomes their idea, like they were.
That's it.
Right? They were in from the beginning, right? They're reminding you now of the ideas.
That's right.
So yeah, I would say continue working in that vein, and even a small community like yours could be an example to larger communities. So yeah, I wish you the best there. Continue working, and if those numbers you said were correct, where you have like maybe 5 or 6 women and 15 to 20 men or so.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's upside down. That's upside down. Usually, there's a lot more women than men.
That's true.
So
but this particular setting here in this little small town, I found out that there are a lot more Muslims here. But I think they're looking for a building. Don't quote me on that. This is just what I hear, right?
Okay.
They're not looking for the struggle to create the situation. They you know what I mean, in terms of coming in as coming in as a believer, and not just a Muslim, coming in as a believer, in the reality of the situation that they took the Shahadatain for. And the reason why I say that, I make this last comment, is that when I first came in the community, we had a brother and his father and a sister. These are the three people who actually supposed to have gotten this thing together, or the ideal. The sister from Egypt, she actually claims she is the forerunner for the project, okay? Now, what happened was the brother, he decided, the brother who we'll say got the paper, I'll put it like that there. His father was running all the businesses here in the area, the urgent care centers. He owned those. So he got his son. He was getting ill, so he turned his son, or he turned all the businesses over to his son. His son was coming in, on Friday to set up for the Juma. All right, and it wasn't something he really wanted to do, but anyway, alhamdulillah. His father got sick. He had a stroke. He hasn't been able to come back as an active member in the community. So I decided I would help the brother out, right? I decided I would take over what he was doing. So on Friday, alhamdulillah, I go to the masjid and I set up the community for worship. And I call the adhan before the imam get the khutbah. So it's like I'm active. The group recognize that I'm responsible, that I don't miss no Juma, and I'm there to open up, set up, close. I can't get no help, but alhamdulillah, I don't beg for it. I'm grateful to Allah for the energy and for bringing me into Islam. So I keep that foremost, and I don't complain about what I do. That's why I was saying that I'm constantly on the other members to step up to the plate and fill the positions that they hold, and let's do this thing the right way, not our way, but the right way that it's supposed to be done. That's going to be pleasing to Allah. So I mean, we have that situation that I think, as you were saying, it's a good situation. It's brand new for me. It's brand new for me. I've never held this particular. Matter of fact, I ain't never been on a board in the community before. But I realized that this situation is bigger than I am, and that I'm in it to win it.
Allah.
So it's like whatever comes up, whether Satan trying to tell me that I don't qualify for it, or I don't feel like, that I should do this or do that, I don't pay that no attention. I just do it anyway. I just continue, to look forward, because I got to meet Allah. And if Allah have called me, which He have, into this situation, and He gave me what I got, then I want to be appreciative for what I got. Hey, even if I don't totally understand it, just stay firm at it, and Allah take care of the rest. So I try to strive for knowledge.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I try to strive for knowledge. and understanding.
There you go.
And understanding.
There's
Most of
a
all.
saying, Brother Timothy, in the entrepreneurial community, that if you wait until you're 100% prepared, you're late.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
When the door opens, you got to step through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm learning that.
That's
I
it.
think a lot just turned 68 August the 3rd.
Allahu
Okay.
Akbar.
I'm still a young man.
Yes, sir.
I'm still a young
Thank you.
man. I got to retire.
Thank you for
I'm
saying that.
Yes, sir.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes,
Alhamdulillah.
sir. Yeah.
Well, wonderful. So
I mean,
any closing remarks? So this is Sister Cheryl. Sister Cheryl comes back. Well, she didn't really leave. She just switched devices. So this device says her real title, Honorable Dr. Cheryl. So
Yeah, I'm on my phone. They have it programmed in.
yeah, I know. So we just wanted to make notice of that because that is truly the title in which she should be addressed.
Yeah,
Alhamdulillah.
they programmed it into my phone. I'm like, really?
I love it. I love it. I love
that's
it.
AI.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like my office programmed it in. I'm like,
Hey.
really? Seriously? I'm like, it's just Cheryl. So when people say something to me, I'm like, it's just Cheryl. It's Cheryl.
Now we look these accolades that we have earned, and I have no reason to doubt that you've earned those accolades.
Yes, sir.
That's
Yes,
right.
sir. I usually
This
only torture my siblings though.
no, I'm just hear me out on this. This attitude of being overly humble,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
we need to bury that too.
Yes, I agree.
Right?
But like I said, I like to torture my siblings. I'm number 4 of 6.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm a middle child. So yeah, it helps to be the middle child to
So
torture all the ones above me and underneath me.
if that's what that means, then I am truly the middle child because I'm number 4 of 7.
Yes, you're the middle child. So you get to, yes, and technically I am 4 of 7 because my stepfather's daughter is also included in my 7. I'm my father's youngest, but for my mom, I'm number 4 of 6. My stepfather's
Okay.
daughter in, I'm number 4 of 7. And you're always the lost child. Nobody remembers you were there. I mean, I literally was forgotten about and left in my grandmother's house a couple times when they went to an event because I was sitting somewhere reading. They were like, "Where's Cheryl?" I think she's still at the house. So I am. So I like to pull the title out of them every once in a while when they call
Okay.
Cheryl. Where's Cheryl? Who? Cheryl? Who? Oh my gosh, Dr. Cheryl. Oh, I'm right here.
Well, hey,
Yeah.
I want to thank all of you for hanging there with me today. I can start some conversations that go off on wild tangents, and I love them.
I like
think
that about you.
I think I said this last week. This is part of my heartbeat. These Sunday mornings that bleed over into Sunday afternoon. This is part of my heartbeat, and it's not. I don't come to these needing a pick me up. I mean, I'm a pretty content person as it goes. I mean, but anytime that I have these conversations on Sunday, it takes me to a higher plane. And I love the learning part of it. The expressions of ideas that are different from my own. Because I can listen to myself talk for hours. Usually it's in my head, but I'm still talking. You know what I mean, Cheryl? I love to hear other voices. And you know, even with my two sons, and if you ever get to meet either of my boys, they will 100% tell you that I'm telling you the truth. Pushback is a beautiful thing to me. I love being challenged. You know, I love having to intellectually, truthfully support my position and my beliefs and be attacked from all sides with the same type of intellect, pure intellect, no venom, right? And you know, my sons will disagree with me in a heartbeat, and they'll have an argument. They've learned to have an argument, sound argument for where they stand, right?
Steel sharpens steel.
Yeah, I mean all of that, but it's the liberty of allowing your soul, your spirit to be free.
I love it.
Yeah, that fires me up.
Love it.
So, Michael, will you close us out?
Yes, sir. I want to thank everyone for stimulating my brain cells to this afternoon. We make the dua, O Allah, Lord Creator, guide us among those you've guided aright. Save us among those you save. Bless us in whatever you give us, and deliver us from the harm that you judge. You judge, and none can judge against you, and those whom you befriend are not disgraced. Ameen.
I mean,
I mean,
Thank you so much.
thank you. Thank all
Assalamu
of you.
alaikum.
Announcement.
Walaikum
Alaikum
salam.
assalam. Hey, I want to tell you guys something before you.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm listening. She's breaking up.
Can you hear me?
You were breaking up a little bit. I think you must be moving.
I am. I'm coming on my I'm down my hill, but
Oh, you
it
sound real
is.
good now.
I am
Sound real good.
debuting. Okay, good. Thank you. It's I'm doing a new podcast. And next week it's called Fact with a little boom.
Repeat all,
Perspective.
Cheryl, repeat
Yeah.
all of that because you broke up really bad. New podcast.
Is it,
Wide
Yeah.
perspectives.
She
And
said,
every now and then I'll have a baby boomer on.
Okay.
Now,
Now we're going to ask you to repeat all of that because you went totally
Okay.
dark.
you broke up?
Okay. Okay. In the next 2 weeks, I'm debuting a new podcast, and it's called XYZ Factor with a little bit of boom.
Uh-oh.
It's Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, and every now and then I let one of you baby boomers in.
Okay.
Okay, I like that.
So which platform is this going to be on?
It's Apple. Well, it'll be you'll be able to catch it on Apple and every other platform. But yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
and it's
Apple,
gonna be
Spotify, all of
yep,
those. Do you
yep.
know when's the first live podcast?
We it'll be in 2 weeks when I get back because I'm
Okay.
traveling right now. So we're trying to time it so that it'll come out right when we do our propositions discussion.
Okay.
So it we're working on it. I'll know tomorrow. My
Very
consultant
good.
and I are talking about it. I'm timing it all. It's all gearing up for that congressional run, just FYI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And I'm sure you will mention it on Map 5 as well.
Oh
For
yeah.
those of us that tune in. So yeah, keep an ear open for all of that.
Yes. And then I'm going to be peeking and telling everybody, look, I need everybody to sign on to all my social media and join and tell 10 people to sign on and just follow me. Just follow me on social media. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, will do.
And
Yeah.
yes.
Alhamdulillah. Es todo.
Me.
Gracias for let me plug it.
All
Bueno.
right, thank you.
Con mucho gusto.
Con mucho gusto.
Alhamdulillah.
You're learning new words, huh, Michael?
Un poco.
More like un poquito.
Un poquito, yes.
Gracias. Wa alaikum assalam.
Wa alaikum assalam.